Good morning to you. The wait is almost up for thousands of A-level students.
Yes, at 8 a.m, results will be released, but experts warn some may be disappointed as grades are predicted to drop to pre-pandemic levels for the first time.
Well, over 300,000 students set their sights on university, but is a crisis looming with more courses available than ever before? Universities are desperately trying to avoid financial crisis.
A good day for train drivers. The government give in to a 15% pay rise in a bid to end the strikes, bringing the average driver's salary to £70,000.
And it's not just the train drivers. Labour agreed to £13.5 million in funding for Tata Steel.
Ukraine defy the odds and claim more territory in Russia as the Ministry of Defence confirmed the use of British weapons in the operation.
And Swifty fever sweeps London again as thousands prepare for Taylor to take on Wembley tonight.
And have board games gone woke? That's our debate this morning as Scrabble adds Gen Z lingo to its dictionary.
And reports circle the Princess of Wales could return to frontline royal duties as soon as the autumn, after opening up earlier this year about her cancer battle.
And in the sport this morning, Wayne Rooney gets his first win as Plymouth Argyle boss, although that's only his second game for crying out loud. Not that I'm questioning my own sport, but it really is. Can anybody beat Real Madrid now that Mbappe and Bellingham are playing together as they won the UEFA Super Cup last night and the USA Olympic bronze medal taken, given and then taken away again? Furore continues.
A brighter day across parts of the south compared to yesterday, but further north it is going to be at times pretty dull, pretty damp, and in places fairly windy. Join me later for a full forecast.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. Paul, how's Ruby feeling?
Oh, she's OK. I'm worse.
You should point out this is your daughter.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Yes, Ruby is getting her results in 2 hours' time.
Yes, she is.
And you're a wreck.
The thing is, what I don't understand is that they've got to go into school. You think in this day and age you would be able to get the results would come through email straight away.
No, but it's nice to go into... I remember going into the sixth form to get mine, and it's nice to go in.
Is it?
Yeah, I'd rather do that than just get a boring old email.
So where did you open yours? Did you do it in front of your friends? Did you go back and do it at home, or
no,
what
we
did
all
you
just
do?
opened them together. We all just opened them together.
Brave.
Though my sociology lecturer did come through and go, "Oh, you've done really well."
Oh,
beforehand.
But do you want that or do you not want that?
No, that was fine because it took.
No, that's nice. Takes the edge off.
Yeah. Because
I go and sit and open them in the car.
I didn't get as far
cope.
as A-levels, quite frankly.
Sure.
No. So when they came through and said, yeah, your CSE Art 4, which how you can get a 4 in CSE Art, I don't know, is like, you know, I get the nod for that, which is similar to your one. I knew it was not going to be good. Yeah. But she's OK. She's OK.
She's going to be great. She's very bright. She's going to be amazing. Good luck, Ruby.
You're just saying that, but I really appreciate
She's
that.
She's going to be
we'll
amazing.
See. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't have any doubt.
I'm just worried because the thing is that I've been thinking about this for ages, and then we're going through clearing and is this the place to go, and is this the course I want to get, and is this the place I want to do? And I know what's going to happen. I've been all over it. By the time 8 o'clock, I'll forget.
I'll remind you.
This is what I'm worried about. So if you can remind me, I'd appreciate that.
We will remind you as well. GB News viewers, remind us. Paul needs to text Ruby at 8 a.m.
Please remind him to text his daughter.
Yes. Meanwhile, the world of young people, apart from A-levels, is alight today.
Yeah, it's a stressful time for them, isn't it?
Because of a romantic breakup.
Yes.
Which, of two people I've never heard of.
Yes.
But it's causing furore.
It is a furore, another furore.
Yeah.
A fury,
if you pardon the pun. Yes, it's Molly May Haig and Tommy Fury. Now, if you're not familiar, they are Love Islanders, arguably the most successful and most famous Love Islanders
I'm not
ever.
gonna argue.
She is now an entrepreneur. She's got she's got a clothing line and hair extensions, and she'd call herself a businesswoman now.
Would she?
And Tommy Fury is the half brother. That's where sport comes in. Half brother of Tyson Fury, so he's a boxer. So the two of them are broken up after 5 years together and a child together. And Gen Z, Gen Z have basically gone into downfall.
Yes, but the Telegraph
have written a very amusing piece describing them as Generation Instagram's Charles and Di. And if
Come on.
they said it was Generation Instagram's Charles and Di moment, the equivalent to the news in 1992, announced by then Prime Minister John Major in the House of Commons that the Prince and Princess of Wales were to separate, but with extra spray tan and more muscles.
Wow.
But they're both 25.
They're both 25. They've got a child together who I believe is a year old.
What's her name?
Called Bambi.
Bambi.
As in
Bambi.
after the Disney.
Bambi Fury.
Bambi Fury, yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
It's hard to believe, but it's true.
You know these things.
Is Bambi a
You
deer?
know what? It
in the
worries
film?
me.
A
It's
film?
when you said named after the. I didn't know any other Bambis.
Yes.
Why was she called Thatcher with a fake tan?
This is also in the Telegraph piece today. So this is...
I'm absolutely baffled by this whole.
So apparently, Molly May was dubbed Thatcher with a fake tan in 2021 because she said on a podcast that Beyoncé, the pop star, has the same 24 hours in the day that we all do. You're given one life and it's down to you what you do with it. It's a very controversial statement at the time.
Why is that controversial?
I think it was just basically saying that she's talking from a place of privilege. So anyway, she wasn't in the good books after she said that, dubbed Thatcher with the fake tan.
Well.
Very amusing, that piece today. We're going to be talking to Steph Tetchy about it a little bit
very
later on.
worried
But
about
it's
it.
trending everywhere. Gen Z are losing their minds over this breakup. So we just thought we'd explain that situation. If your parents or grandparents stay thinking, what is going on?
There's
a
only one
stressful time
life,
for them.
Paul. And there's no return and no deposits.
And I'm sure there's plenty more fish in the sea for the both of them.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Steph Tetchy thinks they're going to get back together. So who knows?
yeah.
We'll watch this one. Oh, and just one from Jack's bubble. 41 minutes ago, he said, on gbnews.com/you'll say, happy birthday, Your Royal Highness, the Princess Royal, Princess Anne. I didn't realise it was her birthday.
No, I didn't actually.
But
did,
we love
actually.
Princess Anne.
74.
74 she is.
It's a remarkable.
Isn't she amazing?
To win a Olympic medal as well.
Yes.
74, and she looks great, doesn't she? And she's just
I admire
so
that woman
stoic and
immensely.
amazing. She's so like her late mother, isn't she? So happy birthday, Princess Royal.
Right, now, let's talk A-levels today, because thousands of teenagers are now less than 2 hours away from getting their grades.
Yes, but results are expected to fall to pre-pandemic levels, which could see the number of A grades fall to 25%, which does still seem quite high.
It seems very high.
And yet there's more university places available than ever as institutions are trying to increase their cash flow.
Well, it is an anxious morning for many. Let's help alleviate some of that stress by talking to former head teacher and chairman of the Campaign for Real Education, Chris McGovern. Chris, good morning to you. And look, perfectly understandable that if you are 18 and waiting for your results, it's a terrifying morning. We all sort of remember it. However, whatever happens, there's always hope on the horizon, isn't there?
There's always hope on the horizon. There's more to life than A-levels. But look, it's going to be a day of celebration on the whole. As you mentioned, results may fall back to pre-COVID, but they're falling back from 99.4% during the COVID lockdown to about 97%. So that most young people are actually going to pass and do pretty well. And I'm one of the people who am quite critical sometimes of A-level, but this is not a day to be critical. These young people can only do the paper put in front of them, and they will have succeeded, and I wish them very well. But, they've got quite a lot ahead of them now in terms of universities and jobs and so forth. And what really matters now is the advice they're getting about what they should do next. Many of them already have decided that. They have decided on university courses, but many won't, and they need good advice. So it's up to the schools and potential employers to offer that advice. So a difficult day, but I think it will be mainly a day of celebration.
And what is your advice to people, to parents and grandparents who are perhaps listening and watching us this morning? If their child, grandchild doesn't get the results that they want, how can they best support them with the next steps?
Well, generally speaking, young people get the results they deserve. And what I would say, if a young person doesn't get the results they think they deserve, they must look for other pathways. We're obsessed in this country about getting the young people into university. Tony Blair said we've got to get about half of them into university, and that's what we do now. And I think schools themselves obsess about university. In fact, there's very good pathways in life without going to university, and including financial pathways. A lot of youngsters go to university and actually can be quite disappointed. and then they come out of university and they're underemployed. What I would say to youngsters today who perhaps didn't quite get the grades they wanted is, look, there's a whole plethora, there's a huge number of pathways you can take. Look for employment, look for apprenticeships, look for jobs which can also train you. You know, we're talking about building another 350,000 homes a year. We don't have the builders, we don't have the bricklayers, we don't have the plumbers, we don't have the electricians, we don't have the roofers. There are a lot of jobs out there for people, and they can make a very good living. And actually, going to university for some youngsters is great, for others it's not so great. So if you didn't get the A-levels you want, there are many other pathways in life, and we've got to support young people to find those.
In terms of, can we talk about clearing? Because a lot of people, their instant reaction is go through clearing. And some people think, well, clearing is a system to sort of govern people who've failed, if you like. I mean, that seems a bit unfair to me, because lots of people go through clearing and actually it can land them on a course that's really good for them.
Yeah, and actually universities are pretty desperate to recruit at the moment. They're in financial trouble. They want to recruit as many young people as possible. So this year, there's going to be more youngsters going through what we call clearing, but actually they're just places at university. You can get clearing places now in virtually any subject you like. So universities actually in some schools today will go into the schools and to give advice because they want to recruit. They're not getting quite so many overseas students, so they want to encourage our own students to join up for their university courses. Some of those courses won't be the best courses for the young people, and we've got a problem here. It's a slightly immoral question. Should we be putting the interest of the universities first, or should we put the interest of the young people first? No, universities can sometimes seem a little bit like a marketplace. They want to get the young people in, but it's not always in the best interest of those young people. But look, as far as going through clearing goes, there'll be some youngsters today who will get better results than they thought, and they may ditch their original university and go to one they think is of higher quality. So it's going to be a bit of a marketplace today. Universities are pretty keen, desperate even to recruit. Youngsters must tread cautiously. There are other pathways than university. If you're academic, yes, maybe university is the best thing you can ever do in your life. If you're not academic, don't worry about it. You know, there are plenty of other jobs, and we need lots of people to do lots of other jobs for the economy of this country. So, I mean, if I was in charge, I would close down half the universities, make them into technical colleges to provide vocational courses, and then 25% would go to university. And I would try to support those youngsters by giving them grants. Well, when I was at university, we had a grant, and we didn't have to pay anything. And I would love to see that back, and we could save the money because we wouldn't have so many youngsters going to university. So universities as polytechnics as they used to be, and some universities as academic places. That would be my future.
Yeah, hate to say it, Chris, it sounds very sensible.
Yeah, I think lots of people would agree with you, yes.
Yeah, really good to talk to you this morning. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, Chris.
Simon says, failing your A-levels is not the end of the world. It's true. Feels like the end of the world, I would imagine, but it really isn't.
It does seem like a lot rides on that day, doesn't it? 18 years old.
It does, but you'll be fine.
You are going to be fine. Whatever happens and what's meant for you will sort itself out, so don't panic.
We're like believers in fate, aren't we? But I think there's an element of that.
But yeah, you'll be OK. It's all OK in the end.
Now, train drivers for ASLEF have reached a deal with the government that could end more than 2 years of conflict between rail operators and unions.
Well, the offer, thought to be around 15%, will now be put to its members and could bring an end to a standoff stretching back to July 2022.
On the international front, authorities in Russia's Kursk region have evacuated 200,000 people following continued Ukrainian advances in parts of the area.
So, after 2.5 years, is war in Europe finally coming to an end?
All right, lots to talk to former Conservative Armed Forces Minister James Heappey about this morning. Good to see you. Can we start with trains? Because obviously strikes were a plight that we've all had to cope with over the last few years. It's been an absolute disaster for a lot of us. Do you agree with what the government seems to have done and put forward this, or arranged at least with the operating companies, this much better deal?
Well, look, even though I'm no longer a politician, I'm going to need to give you a politician's answer, because the answer is yes and no. I get that the strikes in themselves have a cost. They have a cost to the railway and they have a cost to the economy because of the loss of productivity. And so in that sense, they do need to be resolved. However, the difficulty is that invalidating the strike approach by basically buckling and giving the strikers what they want, I'm not sure you bring an end to strikes. I fear that you encourage more. Or, at the very least, you will raise the expectation of all other parts of the public sector workforce to expect similar pay rises. And then you have the question of how on earth these pay rises are afforded. Now, in the government, showing such largesse whilst the rail industry is largely still privatised, the only way those companies meet the increased pay bill is through increased fares. So we pay in the end. And when they do it with workforces that are entirely still in the government's employment, like, for example, within the NHS, within the military or the police or wherever else, then I'm nervous that Rachel Reeves will show this largesse, but then expect departments to fund those increased pay bills from within their existing budgets, which means it comes at the expense of other things that those departments are already doing. So, you know, like I said, yes, it's good to see the strikes resolved. They're a pain in the arse and they cost the economy and the rail companies a lot of money. But you know, if the government is just going to cave to every pay demand that's put to it, over time, that will become incredibly expensive and come at the cost of other things.
Yes, that's just... Be careful with our language, Mr. Heapy. Apologies if anyone...
Apologies.
We've got to be very careful, you know, because we get watched and monitored. Within all this, I have to say, and I know it seems like a bit long form in a sense, but the whole strategy of this government is to grow the economy. So if the economy is growing, then we all do better out of it. And in some respects, isn't it worth the investment in meeting the union demands to try and get everyone back to work, in terms of those people who are on strike, in terms of us being able to facilitate our journeys to work and all the rest of it? Doesn't that help the overall picture?
To a point, yes. And I think in the discussion on any given pay deal, you can, of course, make that analysis. My point is simply that cumulatively, as all of these pay deals are done, if similar largesse is shown everywhere, then you end up with something that is cumulatively very unaffordable for government or for the companies that government is intervening in.
I mean, you've alluded to it already, but the biggest question is, how is this all going to be paid for? There are fears now about tax rises to come in the autumn from Rachel Reeves. And there's a story yesterday, and you alluded to that earlier, with cuts to other departments, but Labour reportedly looking to cut millions from the budget for modernising the armed forces, which seems a strange decision considering what we're talking about with the Russia-Ukraine war.
So I saw that too. I mean, I saw an extraordinary line in one of the newspapers that said that Rachel Reeves is seeking cuts within non-frontline departments like defence, and I think went on to say transport and some others. Interesting that in these geopolitical times, defence is not a frontline department, but you know, and also at odds with the sort of thing that Labour was saying during the election campaign when they were making lots of noise about their enthusiasm for increased defence spending. And this nonsense that, of course, they did mean that at the time, but they've since found this incredible black hole that they had no idea of. I mean, I just think that is already exposed as a nonsense. You know, and the fact that a lot of that black hole is made up to our previous discussion about the settlement with the rail unions. A lot of that black hole is actually made up by the decision Rachel Reeves has taken over pay settlements in the first few weeks of her tenure in Number 11. So politics is easy if you're going to say yes to everyone. The problem is eventually it catches up with you and you have forced to start making choices that will be unpopular. And what I'm hearing is that if, for example, a similar pay deal were done to the armed forces, and who would say that our soldiers, sailors, aviators don't deserve a pay rise? But if the Treasury says they get that pay rise, but it comes out of the existing MOD budget, there's no new money for it, then the obvious consequence is fewer tanks, fewer planes, fewer ships in order to pay troops more. Not saying that troops don't deserve more money, but just pointing out that if no new money comes from the Treasury, then it has to come at the expense of something the department is already doing.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, does it? Look, in terms of the conflict, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, there are people talking about, well, perhaps this is it's the beginning of the end, perhaps, by this incursion into Russia by Ukraine, what is happening there. Is that a realistic assessment of what's going on, or is it just wishful thinking?
Yeah, that was exactly the words that I was going to use in response to where I thought your question would end. It is wishful thinking, I'm afraid. It is good in that it proves that Ukraine is perfectly capable of getting on the offensive. It shows just how attritional the battle on the long-standing front line now is, where they're just in this constant grind. Whichever side is on the offensive is running up against very well-prepared defences. At the moment, Russia is moving forward, but very, very slowly and at enormous cost to its army. Where the defences are less well-prepared, Ukraine has shown that it can break through and gain some pretty quick success. The West should use this as a siren call to keep backing Ukraine because they're showing us that what they're capable of. But I'm afraid that it means nothing in terms of accelerating towards the end of the war.
You can imagine it will be good for morale, though, inside Ukraine, especially seeing Russian prisoners of war, for example.
Hugely so. In sport as much as in war, nobody revels in defence. It is much more. It's much more enjoyable, frankly, to be on the offensive.
Okay. James Heapy has. We've lost that line, sadly.
We got the gist, though. It would be good for morale.
Thank you very much indeed, James. It's fascinating to talk to someone who is out of politics when it comes to this sort of thing.
But can give us that perspective from the inside as well.
I'll tell you what, I did find it really interesting talking about the pay rises and armed forces. Because you can't give everyone in the armed forces a pay rise if it's going to come out of the existing budget when we know that the Army and Navy and Air Force are cash-strapped as it is. So it's an absolutely crazy situation. But then again, this new deal with ASLEF puts the average train driver on £70,000 a year.
Up from 60,000, yeah.
Which is far, far, far more than any soldier earns.
Yeah.
Your rank and file, your NCOs, they're not earning that anywhere near that sort of money. So why doesn't that need to be addressed, really?
Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Now, at 23 minutes past 6, let's take a look at some other stories coming to the newsroom this morning.
The World Health Organization has declared a fresh outbreak of Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox. They called it a global emergency. There have been 15,000 cases in the Democratic Republic of Congo this year alone, with 500 deaths. The virus spreads through close contact, and although it is usually mild, it can be fatal. 2 astronauts stuck in space on the Atlantis V rocket say they remain in good spirits after NASA confirmed they will make a call on how to get them back to Earth in the next 2 weeks. That's as the pair have been in limbo since taking off from a base in Florida in June. And today marks day 1 of Harry and Meghan's tour of Colombia. The pair will spend 4 days visiting notable leaders and women's rights activists in the South American country on what's being called a quasi-royal trip.
Oh dear, I'm not sure if you're going to get the reference on this one. It's Not So Long London. That's a song from Taylor Swift. Yes, I thought I'd explain that one. But Taylor Swift does return to the capital tonight until Tuesday. I'm so jealous. For the final leg in Europe of her Eras tour.
Yes, it's a sold-out show, of course. It's going to see 90,000 fans making their way to Wembley every night. So if you see lots of people wearing cowboy boots and friendship bracelets, if you're in London today, that'll be why.
Yes. Well, the last time that Taylor was in town, she snapped a selfie with the Prince of Wales, Prince George and Princess Charlotte as the royal family celebrated William's 42nd birthday.
So, the megastar does have form for making surprise announcements, but will fans be kept... Oh, tell me, what does this mean?
These are all her songs. Will fans be kept out of the woods, which is a song, or will it be A Cruel Summer? Also a song.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense to the
I mean, I'm
listeners.
enjoying it personally, but yes, I know. It might need a little explainer. Stephanie Tetchy is enjoying it, and she joins us live in the studio now.
The Swifty puns.
Yes.
These are going to be the final shows that Taylor's going to be doing of her Eras tour in Europe. So they are going to be special. You know, Taylor is the queen of surprises. I know there's been a lot of, bad blood ahead of these shows because of, the full terror plot in Austria, then also what's happened in Southport. But Taylor, the show will go on for Taylor at Wembley Stadium, kicking off tonight. Over the next 5 dates, she is going to bring some surprise acts. Some of them include Ray, who's had a tremendous year. We saw her sweep up at the Brits. So I think for Ray to be opening for Taylor Swift, obviously Ray is a British girl like us, so I think she's going to be fabulous on stage. But also we've got Suki Waterhouse as well. So Suki's best known for her acting work, but she's actually been venturing into the music world. So she's excited to be opening for Taylor on Saturday. And one thing that a lot of fans have seen over these past few shows, I don't know if you saw it when you went, she's been she's been performing hits from her new album, The Tortured Poets Department. So I think fans have been, relishing seeing her perform her new material as well as her old material, because what these concerts are about, they're about celebrating her 18-year career. So I think fans are definitely in for a treat over the 3 hours that they spend at the shows. But we cannot deny that most of these shows are going to be quite on lockdown due to all the security that's happened. Wembley have banned over 50 items which fans cannot be bringing. This includes stuff like chains or anything that could cover their face unless it's for religious purposes.
And do you think there could be any surprises in store, Stephanie? There always tends to be at a Taylor show. And this is her last leg, isn't it, of her Europe tour?
Last time we saw her bring out her boyfriend. But
I can't believe I missed that. That was the night after I went.
Well, what I've realised, what I'm predicting, I've seen that Taylor's got a new girl gang in Britain.
Oh,
like, every time she comes over, she's hanging with, like, Stella McCartney, all these kind of famous faces. So I do feel like she will be bringing out some of her British posse out for fans.
Oh, dear. Well, we can look forward to that. I'm not going. I tried to get tickets, I couldn't.
I'm still waiting to get my confirmation.
You'll probably go, won't you?
I think I will be. I will be
always
there
gets the best
with my
tickets.
postcard.
Feel free to bring me.
Stephen as a +1.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you bring me as a +1, Stephanie.
All right, well, can we talk about this celebrity split?
Oh, God.
Molly May and Tommy Fury.
Yeah,
I've got to say, I'm not familiar.
Yeah, and most of our viewers might be like, who? But they will see it if they're scrolling on their social media feeds.
Yeah.
These were the original Love Island couple. They won in... No, they didn't win in Series 5. You might as well say they did become winners, because since then, people have been following their love story. Between them, they've managed to amass £9 million following their appearance on the show. And they've been one of the best-loved couples. But yesterday they announced their split, which sent social media into meltdown. And you can kind of see the culture shift these days and what people think is a power couple, because people were very much seeing these two as a power couple because their relationship has been played out on social media non-stop. He's a boxer, she's an influencer. They put their relationships out there. They had a daughter together. But yesterday they announced it's all over, and Gen Z are having a meltdown. They can't believe one of their favourite couples have broken up. But it just
They were engaged as well, weren't
They were
they?
engaged to be married. So, again, it just goes to show how people view relationships differently these days. Love Island has a cult following, and most of these relationships tend to be showmances, but these two actually managed to buck the trend and stay together for 5 years. So I can imagine the newspapers are going to be having a field day to figure out what's happened and where it went wrong.
Yes. Oh, well.
Another one bites the dust.
Another one bites the dust.
But I do think they will get back together. And
Yeah, interesting you say this.
I do think they'll get back together. I think they're quite young. You know, they're both 25, so I think, you know, they maybe need a bit more time to, you know, get a bit more... Yeah, grow up.
They're babies themselves, aren't they?
But I found it quite interesting. A lot of people on social media, young people, were calling it the Prince Charles and Di moment of the split. I was like, hell no. But
it's not quite the
it's
same,
not
is it?
that, but it's quite interesting there.
Yeah. All right, Steph, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Talking about A-levels, this view from Nick, who says, very well said Chris McGovern, who we had on at the top of the show, about alternative pathways for students. Back in the early 90s, when I did my A-levels, I didn't get the grades that I needed for university. There was no support or advice on alternatives. But there are many other perfectly valid pathways to follow. So good luck, everyone, today, and don't despair if things don't go the way that you were hoping for.
Yes, very good point, actually. If you've got any questions about the A-level results, whether it's you or a child or a grandchild or whatever it may be, and you've got any questions, let us know on gbnews.com/yoursay, because we've got lots of experts coming up. We can put your questions to them throughout the course of the morning.
Yeah. Now, should we take a look at the weather with Alex Deakin?
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Something of a north-south split today. Lots of cloud across the north, outbreaks of rain this morning, whereas much of the south staying dry until tonight. In fact, a much brighter day on the south coast compared to yesterday. But it's dull and damp for much of Scotland and Northern Ireland this morning. That rain is trickling into northwest England and North Wales and will continue to spread southwards towards the Midlands by the end of the afternoon. At the same time, it does start to clear from the far northwest. Yes, we'll see increasing cloud further south, but we should see some decent spells of sunshine, 25, 26 degrees. In this rainier zone, though, it's also going to be quite windy, particularly for North Wales, northwest England, southwest Scotland. By the time we get to this evening's rush hour, the rain should be pulling away from most of Scotland. Some sunny spells over the Highlands, but still one or two showers. Could still be quite grey on the east coast at this stage and potentially through the central belt, although the rain will be heading away by 5 or 6 o'clock. Should be clearing from Northern Ireland by then as well, so for many here, a fine evening. Still quite blustery over Wales and northwest England with outbreaks of rain. It's just spreading down towards the southwest, whereas East Anglia in the southeast should stay dry well into the evening. It's not really until later on we start to see that rain spreading across East Anglia and then the southeast of England. One or two heavy bursts as it clears through. For many, it'll turn clearer and cooler, with temperatures down to single figures in rural parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Still quite warm and humid across East Anglia and the southeast. Any early rain should scoot away tomorrow morning, but there is the potential the warmth and humidity may linger across the southeast, which could give some afternoon showers. Certainly looking at some showers across the northwest of Scotland. For many, tomorrow's a decent looking day. Dry and bright. A fresher feel as well, and temperatures close to the average for the time of year. Generally high teens across the north, low to mid-20s further south.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
All right, let's tell you about our £30,000 Great British giveaway. There's still plenty of time to get your entry in.
Yes, so have a think. What would you do with all of that extra cash? Here are all of the details that you need for a chance to win it.
Celebrate a spectacular summer with your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash in our Great British giveaway. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, and it's totally tax-free. What would you spend that on? Luxury holidays, a new car, or just put it away for a rainy day? Whatever you do with £30,000 in tax-free cash, make sure you don't miss out on a chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck.
the words right out of my mouth. Paul Coyte.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What have you got in the sport for us today?
OK, Wayne Rooney, first win as Plymouth manager. OK, I'm scraping that barrel a little. Real Madrid beat Atalanta to win the Super Cup. And if you know me, you know I love my sport and my fashion. Equally.
Oh, you do?
I do. That's what I'm known for. So what we will do is look at some of the Premier League football shirts for this season.
Yeah.
And assess how we feel about them.
Okay. Excellent.
In a fashion.
Jolly good. Like the sound of that. Paul, thank you. See you in a minute.
Thank you very much. We'll be back after this short break.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
It's a very difficult issue, this, right? As far as we know, the boxer with male chromosomes was born with female genitalia.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually quite simple. Sex in humans is binary and immutable because we are mammals. And there is a minority of people who have disorders of sexual development, and that can affect a person's reproductive organs. But these people are male or female. And yesterday, what we witnessed was basically just glorified male violence against women and girls. The difference is, I mean, that happens every day all over the world. And the difference is that in every other circumstance, we consider beating up women to be wrong, but it was deemed acceptable by those at the IOC because they're claiming that it's sport, but it's not. It's violence and it's wrong.
Peter, Lottie's right, isn't she, that we've been talking a lot recently about violence against women and girls, and regardless of whether this person is intersex or transgender, they have male chromosomes. That means they have a very, very distinct biological advantage that could actually be fatal to a female athlete competing against them.
Well, of course, sport does need to be fair, and we do need to examine this case very thoroughly. There are reports that the boxer, Iman Khalif, was born a biological woman. She is not transgender. She is not non-binary. She is not intersex. She may have elevated levels of testosterone, but that's entirely natural. It's beyond her control. It's the way she was born. And that is why the International Olympic Committee has said that she falls within the rules.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. We're going through the sport now with Paul Coyte, who's here with us. Morning.
Good morning. Shall we go through some of the sport?
Yes, please.
That's what I'm here for, right?
Good man.
Very briefly, Real Madrid. Real Madrid versus Atalanta, which is not probably a game you're going to be too worried about. It's just you are.
Well, no, because haven't Real Madrid got Mbappe and
Bellingham?
Bellingham, Jude. Hey, Jude.
Jude Bellingham. That's
so I mean, they've got to be a winning combo, haven't they?
Absolutely correct. Can you imagine any team having to play Real Madrid? I mean, Atalanta, they lost 2-0. So the Super Cup, it's the winner of the Europa League against the winners of the Champions League. So they play that to start the season. And Atalanta lost 2-0. If I was Atalanta, I'd be thinking, that's quite a good result. Quite happy with that. Look at that. There they are. And Kylian Mbappe scored and Jude Bellingham fed him. And I just think Real Madrid... You don't want to be playing Real Madrid this season because it's just like the days of the Galacticos. There they are, every one of them fabulous. Manchester City City. This is something we've been talking about the last couple of days. Not a lot is moving on it, but 115 alleged breaches of Premier League rules. We know about that because the case is going to be heard in September, but now it's moved on that, and I mentioned this as well yesterday, but it's the fact that clubs, if they're guilty, clubs then would be able to sue Manchester City by then saying, because they cheated, we've lost earnings and we could have been higher up in the league, or maybe we could have won. Do you know what I mean? There's no end to this.
No, but I mean, you'd bankrupt the club.
Well, not Manchester City, because there's... Well, I think the phrase is they've got money coming out of their ear rolls, I think is what it is. But the thing is, though, with the clubs that are suing them... See, this is when it starts getting really ridiculous. There's a statute of limitations of 6 years of when these allegations and when these stories first came out, which runs out in November. So these clubs will have to sue Manchester City before the case is even over, even though no decision is made. Makes sense?
None at all.
No, it shouldn't, because it is complete nonsense. Gymnastics, Jordan Childs. Now, this one's moved on a bit as well. Now, this is the gymnast, the American gymnast, who was given bronze. Oh, no, actually, firstly, she wasn't given bronze. She came 5th. Then there was a dispute. So then she was given bronze, and then it turned out that the American dispute was actually put in too late because you've got 1 minute after the actual event.
Right.
Following me on this one?
Yes.
Is this a confusing sport today?
No, yes and no.
Yes,
but,
OK.
And then they're trying to take her bronze medal off her, have they?
Yes, they've now said you've got to send the bronze medal back, but now it's moved on because the Americans are now saying, because it actually went to the Court of Arbitration for Sport.
Yeah.
The Americans are saying, well, actually, the man who made the decision has worked with the Romanians before, and it was the Romanians who actually get the bronze. And they're saying that it's, honestly, it's just getting ridiculous. And the thing is, she already has a gold medal anyway from the team exercises. So therefore, wouldn't you just say, just take the bronze?
No, I wouldn't. I'd be the other way. I'd be like...
You'd be holding on to his bronze.
You've given me the bronze and you're not taking it back off me now.
So
I'd be
I would
the
not
same.
be taking it
So
back.
I'd be with you.
Yeah.
Would you then... So let's say that the Olympic Committee come to you and then they say, right, you now have to return the bronze. What are you going to do? Who are you going to send round to my house?
Yeah.
Are you going to send it back? Or are you going to have to say, I want the postage as well, if I'm going to send it back? Because they want you to send it back again.
Well, I'd be like, no, you're not having it.
No, too late.
OK, fair enough.
That'd be it. Do what you like, but you're not having it back.
Good for you. Gold medalist Keely Hodgkinson.
Yes.
I love her.
I love Keely Hodgkinson as well. She said that her next goal is going to be the 800-metre world record.
Right.
Now, the world record has stood... How long do you think the women's 800-metre world record has stood for?
38 years.
It's the longest standing track record ever, isn't it?
31.
31
Hey, I wasn't far off.
It's not bad. Ludmila Kratochvilova. Do you remember Ludmila Kratochvilova?
I remember the name.
I hope we've got a picture of Ludmila Kratochvilova, because any arguments about boxers, etc., that we've seen at the Olympics, if you can have a little picture of Ludmila... Oh, we haven't got Jamila Kratochvilova. She...
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the thing is, there's a lot of these records, Olympic records and world records, that go back 40 years, and we have an idea why, right?
Yeah, without...
Eastern Bloc?
Yes.
I'm not saying...
No, you've got to be careful.
Absolutely.
But...
1985, Florence Griffith Joyner as well, 1988. There is a lot of records that go back a long way. So it would be very difficult to beat them.
But she's going to do it.
It would take some doing, but if she does, it would be magnificent.
Yeah, it certainly
to take off.
Oh, where's this fashion?
Right, let's do a little...
items.
OK, let's have a look at some of it.
Yeah, I like your fashion items.
The Premier League returns this weekend, so I thought it may be nice to just have a look at some of the fashion that we'll see at Premier League grounds this year. Now, I believe that we have 4, hopefully, shirts, which, and I'll go through some of them.
Let's get one on screen.
Let's go with the first one. And there we are. Now, look, there's Crystal Palace. What do we think about that?
I quite like that, to be honest.
all
I think
right.
that's quite traditional.
I was just going to say that, traditional.
But
it's like a proper football.
It does from a distance, but if you look closely, there's hundreds of eagles. The actual shape, see, it's all the. Which is very nice, and it's covered in eagles, which is obviously the emblem of Crystal Palace. So we fairly like that. I don't know whether there was someone that was actually laying down. That's the reason for the legs there.
Yeah.
On the right-hand side. So that's what Crystal Palace are going to be wearing. We've got another one. There we are. What do we think about that one?
That's awful.
I don't like that.
Yellow and blue should never be seen together.
Yeah, and
that's not the phrase, but
it's going to be my phrase.
Okay.
I'm not a fan.
OK, that one's gone. OK, let's move on to the next one.
Also
this is Southampton
awful.
away.
Same rule applies.
Very, very bright. They're sort of like very like
also yellow and blue.
Highlighters.
Green, isn't it? Is that not green?
It's sort of greeny yellow business going on there.
I don't mind that.
OK,
No,
that's
awful.
away kits. And how about one more?
Not bad. Bit boring.
Yeah, a bit boring. See, there's some which you're either going one way or the other.
Yeah.
Either completely straight. I remember the moment that Admiral back in the 70s came out with kits that were completely different. You know, there were stripes and stuff like that. I remember seeing it in a shop. It was, quite frankly, a religious experience. When I saw Tottenham Hotspur's home kit from 1978 as a small child.
Oh, goodness.
And it never left me. Whereas these days, every year it changes.
Yeah.
Because that's where all the money comes in.
Yeah, it's all about the money.
All about the money. That's
Right, Paul, thank you very much indeed.
But for me,
Thank
it's
you.
about fashion.
Oh, yeah, fashion.
And the football.
Thanks, Paul Coit.
Thank
Do stay with us. We're going to be going through the papers next with Charlie Rowley and Susan Holder. That's next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M56 in Greater Manchester is blocked eastbound after an accident between junction 6 and 5 from the Four Seasons roundabout at Hale to the turn for Manchester Airport. Train services in Essex are suspended between Southminster and Wickford, where overnight engineering works have overrun. On the M4 in London, there are queues heading west from junction 3 at Heston to 4 at Heathrow because of roadworks. In Surrey, the A324 is closed in both directions along Knockfield Drive off Victoria Way in Woking after an accident. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking 10 minutes in westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks, and in East Sussex a number of roads along the seafront in Eastbourne will be closed today for the Eastbourne International Air Show. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, time to go through the papers this morning with Charlie Rowley. and Susan Holder. Good morning to you both.
Morning, you two.
Nice to see you. Let's kick straight off, Charlie, with the Daily Mail, should we? Looking at train drivers. It's all been settled with ASLEF, supposedly.
Well, supposedly, as you say. After 2 years of industrial disputes led by the ASLEF union that represents thousands of train drivers, and a lot of tube drivers as well, they have now settled with the new government, a Labour government that's come in, where they've agreed pay rises of about up to 14%. Now, the Tory government previously were offering 8% plus changes to terms and conditions. So, for example, working on Sundays, so you can't just sort of, have your cake and eat it because, nobody chooses when they travel. You still need trains all day, every day. But it seems now the dispute has come to an end. However, just as we've seen under London's Labour mayor, who claimed when he was coming into office that there'd be no strikes at all, and we've seen more strikes than ever before, and continued increases in pay, I fear, just as a former advisor, that this is not the end of the track. We're going to continue to see increases in public sector pay. And there's a serious point that James Heapy made earlier on. Where does it end? Where does the money come from? You keep asking for more.
Yes,
you increase your taxes.
Yeah, and I totally get that argument. The problem is if you follow the route and say, well, in that case, we're never going to give anyone who strikes a pay increase because it will encourage others, well, then you're on a hide into nothing.
You are, and it's a worry as a passenger that we're going to be hit in our pockets directly with train fare increases as well. But I'm actually quite interested in the fact that there's a line in the report that says it's not just the pay increase, which actually isn't like an all in one go. It's kind of incremental, backdated over several years, isn't it? But actually, changes to working practices is something that they were fighting quite hard against as well, which may now not happen. Which, if that means there'll be more people on the trains and more. Given the news we've just got in about how much there is an increase in attacks on women and how unsafe women feel travelling on trains, there's been a huge rise in
50% rise.
50% rise in sexual and violent attacks on women. We need more people on those trains, and somebody does have to pay for that. And if that's something that we're going to have more of, that is a good thing.
Yeah. But it is going to raise further fears, isn't it, over the power that the Labour.
Yes.
That the unions have over Labour.
Absolutely, and look, they will herald it as a success on the back of settling with other NHS staff and NHS pay rises. There'll be other public sector workers that undoubtedly their unions will be knocking at the door of the Labour government and saying, we want more money. And there's nothing wrong with paying increases in people's wages. Absolutely not, of course. But the money's got to come from somewhere. Yeah. And you're going to start to see, I'm afraid, with these increases in public sector funding, with this supposed 22 billion black hole that the Chancellor's
and the sympathy from the public isn't with train drivers who actually do get a really decent kind of wage.
Second one's about 70 grand.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to be kind of boo-hooing for them, whereas you've got people who work in social services and various parts of the NHS, although not all, who we really would like to have paid more money.
But who's going to pay? Your taxes are going to go up. It's inevitable. Inflation has now gone up as well.
Unless the economy grows. Unless the economy grows.
Well, and you only get the economy to grow if you have an effective and efficient sort of railway service.
Yes, you do. Absolutely.
If you continue to have strikes, though, with the increased pay, then that's not going to do anybody.
Well, no, but they've stopped the strike. They've stopped the strikes. You can't work on the basis where they could possibly.
But those strikes have, over the period of time they've been doing them, cost the country 850 billion.
We've lost 18 days to the strikes. Over
the knock-on effect
years.
is huge.
There will be more strikes, Stephen. I think it's not wise to have a bet on television or anything, but I would have a little bet with you that there'll be more strikes to come in the railway sector, even with this thing.
I hope you're wrong.
So do I, by the way. But
Should we have a quick look at this Liz Truss story, Susan? No, it's
so
uncomfortable.
Well, it's uncomfortable in many ways, actually, if you watch the clip. So because Liz Truss is on some sort of a talk tour and was appearing at a theatre in Suffolk. Now, just to look at the clip, before what actually happened, I was quite distressed by it, because who's buying a ticket to go and see this? It looked completely underwhelming, I have to say. I wish they'd panned the camera around so we could see how many people were in the audience.
Dozens.
A few. She wasn't a dynamic speaker before this happened. And what actually gave it a level of interest was somebody, well, it's led by Donkeys, the kind of activist group, lowered a banner that says, "I crush the economy," with a picture of a lettuce. And instead of actually seizing the moment, making a joke of it, and actually people actually feeling for her and maybe being on her side, she just kind of went, "That's not funny," and shuffled off, which I didn't think was the way to handle it, really.
It's not the way to handle it.
She wilted in the heat, like a lettuce. And it was also, unfortunately for her, was dressed like one as well, because she had got a lime green dress on, which was very unfortunate.
She's not known for a dynamism.
Well, no.
Or a humour.
But if you're put on the spot as a politician or something, you really ought to roll with the punch a bit more, I think.
Lovely. Thank you both very much indeed. Short but sweet. We'll see you later.
Let's have a look at the weather now with Alex Deacon.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Something of a north-south split today. Lots of cloud across the north, outbreaks of rain this morning, whereas much of the south staying dry until tonight. In fact, a much brighter day on the south coast compared to yesterday. But it's dull and damp for much of Scotland and Northern Ireland this morning. That rain is trickling into northwest England and North Wales and will continue to spread southwards towards the Midlands by the end of the afternoon. At the same time, it does start to clear from the far northwest. Yes, we'll see increasing cloud further south, but we should see some decent spells of sunshine, 25, 26 degrees. In this rainier zone, though, it's also going to be quite windy, particularly for North Wales, northwest England, southwest Scotland. By the time we get to this evening's rush hour, the rain should be pulling away from most of Scotland. Some sunny spells over the Highlands, but still one or two showers. Could still be quite grey on the east coast at this stage and potentially through the central belt, although the rain will be heading away by 5 or 6 o'clock. Should be clearing from Northern Ireland by then as well, so for many here a fine evening. Still quite blustery over Wales and northwest England with outbreaks of rain. It's just spreading down towards the southwest, whereas East Anglia in the southeast should stay dry well into the evening. It's not really until later on we start to see that rain spreading across East Anglia and then the southeast of England. One or two heavy bursts as it clears through. For many, it'll turn clearer and cooler, with temperatures down to single figures in rural parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Still quite warm and humid across East Anglia and the southeast. Any early rain should scoot away tomorrow morning, but there is the potential the warmth and humidity may linger across the southeast, which could give some afternoon showers. So looking at some showers across the northwest of Scotland. For many, tomorrow's a decent looking day. Dry and bright. A fresher feel as well, and temperatures close to the average for the time of year, generally high teens across the north, low to mid-20s further south.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M56 in Greater Manchester is closed eastbound from junction 6 at Hale to 5 at Manchester Airport after an accident yesterday evening. Sheffield Supertram services aren't running between Meadowhall South, Tinsley and Rotherham Parkgate because of a signalling problem. On the M25 in Buckinghamshire, there are anti-clockwise delays from junction 16 for the M40 towards 15 for the M4. 2 lanes are closed where overnight roadworks have overrun. There are some cancelled trains heading into Waterloo Station in London because of a signalling problem. In Surrey, the A324 is closed along Lockfield Drive off Victoria Way in Woking after an accident. And on the M26 in Kent, it's taking a quarter of an hour. In westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
You really could become the next giveaway winner with your chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Listen to what some of our previous winners have to say about winning big with us.
Hi, my name's Victoria. I won the Spring Great British giveaway. So the day we got the money in our bank account, everything just felt just a lot nicer. We went out for dinner, just enter. And you never expect to win. but I did.
Get your entry in now for another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash. Text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2 or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Simon Evans, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Arlene Foster on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. The wait is almost over for thousands of A-level students.
Yes, in just 1 hour's time, the results will be released, but experts warn some students may be disappointed as grades are predicted to drop to pre-pandemic levels for the first time.
It's a good day to be a train driver. The government, it looks like, is giving in to a 15% pay rise to end the strikes, bringing the average driver's salary to 70 grand.
And it's not just train drivers who are in luck. Labour agreed to £13.5 million in funding for Tata Steel.
Ukraine defy the odds and claim more territory in Russia as the MOD confirms the use of British weapons in the operation.
And Swiftie fever sweeps London as thousands prepare for Taylor to take to Wembley tonight.
Also, and rather randomly this morning, we're asking if board games have gone woke. Scrabble has added Gen Z lingo to its dictionary.
And reports circle that the Princess of Wales could return to frontline royal duties in the autumn after opening up earlier this year about her cancer battle.
And in the sport this morning, Wayne Rooney gets his first win as Plymouth Argyle boss. Can anybody beat Real Madrid now that Mbappe and Bellingham are playing together as they won the UEFA Super Cup last night? I hear you ask. And as the USA Olympic bronze medals taken away and given and taken away, the furore continues.
A brighter day across parts of the south compared to yesterday, but further north it is going to be at times pretty dull, pretty damp, and in places fairly windy. Join me later for a full forecast.
Good morning to you. It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is Breakfast on GB News. You're enjoying the GB News.
Sorry,
GB
no,
News.
it's just I forgot that you were coming back to us at that point. It took me by surprise. Yeah. Here we go. I'm trying to look for train drivers stuff.
Oh, Ollie's reminding you need to ring your daughter at 8 a.m.
Oh, OK, thanks, Ollie.
June says, and a fair point, isn't it strange there's money for train drivers on £60,000, but no money for pensioners on £13,000 to have the winter fuel payment? Yeah, I mean, there you go. Someone else messaged, it's gone now, I can't find it now, saying, oh, Stephen's being also lefty supporting these big payouts. I'm just looking at all sides of the argument because it's what I actually, believe it or not, I'm paid to do.
Yes, your job, yes.
But it's... I mean, what do they do? The government, I mean, they're going to want to come in and get all these things settled, aren't they? But whether it's going to work out in the long run... I mean, Eileen says, the Labour government hands inflation-busting pay rises to the train drivers, junior doctors and the state sector workers in general, all funded by the taxpayer, and justifies it by saying it's better than to keep having strikes. is it better than I mean, we need everything to keep working, don't we?
Yeah. Well, they're saying that people just strike into oblivion, wouldn't they? So they need to end it at some point. Also, it is A-level results day today. If you've got any questions about yourself or your children or your grandchildren who are receiving results today, we're going to be speaking to experts throughout the morning, and we can put your questions to the experts. So do get in touch with us this morning. If you have a question, gbnews.com/yoursay.
If you want some clearing advice, though, Pete Morris has been in touch.
Oh, yeah.
He says, I used to work on a university clearing phone line. Here are the top tips. The staff working the phones are dealing with thousands of calls per hour and haven't got time to discuss alternative career options. We try to be sympathetic, but we aren't trained to be counsellors. And you cannot buy your way onto a course by asking to pay more fees.
I can't believe people do that.
What, ask to pay more money?
Yeah, just be like, slip you a few more.
Oh, I suppose if they're desperate.
Yeah.
If they're desperate. But there you go. So
He doesn't sound too happy, does he?
He's not overly sympathetic.
He's not mincing his words.
Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't phone up. Don't think we're going to be nice to
They're probably dealing with a lot of very, very upset, stressed people, aren't they?
Well, I think the idea at home, because Ruby's got her results coming in 8 o'clock, and then thinking, well, do I go here or go into clearing? And then that's basically where
has she picked an ideal course?
Well, she did, and then a couple of days ago, then that's changed a little. So then there was a day... Oh, I know, and then there was a day of going through. So now there's a list, and then it's literally, as soon as the results come in, on the phone, and I've said, right, OK, so Sue, who's Ruby's mum's got to do it. The brother's got to be involved.
Well,
everybody's got to be. By the way,
and
by the way, there is. Yes, that's it.
Also, your wife.
Yeah, no, but in this time, I'm not the one that's going into clearing at the moment.
Yes.
Although
yes,
I could be cleared off at the moment if I don't say the right thing.
It's going to be a family effort.
It's going to be a family effort.
Ruby.
So during the sport, if I'm on the phone or doing anything of that,
just get on with it.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Top of the 8 o'clock. Don't even be here. Just ring Ruby.
Don't panic. I mean, I sent my parents into utter chaos because there was one course I wanted to do. Which was the first. That's how old I am. It was the first ever course in broadcast journalism in the country.
Right, fine.
And, first
didn't
year
it serve him well?
Did serve me well.
He did ever so well, didn't he?
But I rejected every other course I've been accepted for.
Oh, did you?
Why?
Because I wanted to do that course and only that course.
Oh.
So my parents were pulling their hair out, saying, but you haven't got any other options if you don't get the grades.
Yeah.
But then you did, and here you are.
I got the grades.
Hey.
I got the grades.
I love it. That's very you, actually.
And where was that? Where
Nottingham Trent.
At Nottingham, right, OK.
But it was just like, I just thought, well, if I don't want to go and do, some media course in Birmingham or an English course in Newcastle. I don't want to do it. If you don't want to do it, what's the point?
Yeah.
So see, the thing is, she's going through the city. Do I want to go to this city or wherever? Is it the course? Then accommodation. What's the accommodation
You've got
like?
that to deal with as well.
So in what order should it be? Should it be the course more than anything else,
Yes,
and then the city because the city's going to be good, and then the accommodation? What do you do?
Yeah, in that order, I'd say.
You go for the course,
city, accommodation, and accommodation will sort itself out.
Yeah, forget about the accommodation,
right?
Because you're only going to be in it for
a year. 9 months.
Right, fine.
So don't worry about that. And she'll make loads of friends anyway, because she's lovely.
Ruby,
so best luck,
watching?
Ruby. Best luck anyone getting their results in just under an hour's time.
Yeah, not far off. But, the results overall are going to drop, apparently, to pre-pandemic levels. They've stopped that sort of looser marking that was introduced because of the pandemic.
Well, let's get some expert advice now from Robert Halfon, who's former Minister for Skills, Apprenticeships and Higher Education. Good to see you this morning. And what's your advice to very nervous young people who are expecting their results in about 55 minutes' time?
Well, first of all, wish everyone good luck. I mean, to be honest with you, I was absolutely terrified when I was waiting for my A-level results. But what I would say is if you don't get the A-levels that you need, remember there are a lot of options. First of all, you can still apply for university through the clearance process, and there are many places available. But secondly, there's something very exciting which wasn't available when I was a student, which is you can do an apprenticeship now in over 690 different occupations, everything from aeronautical to zoology, with media, policing, nursing in between. and you can do them right up from level 3 right up to degree level. So if you don't get into university, you can apply for an apprenticeship and earn while you learn. And also the advantages, of course, that you don't have any student debt to take on. Even if you do a degree apprenticeship, you earn money, and over 90% of apprentices who complete get good skilled jobs at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you look at those sort of options. I mean, I guess the point is, Robert, that if people wanted to go down that route, they should have been looking at it before today rather than it just being a backup, shouldn't they?
Well, not necessarily, because people make choices at different times in their life, and also it depends on their exam results. Sometimes people think, well, I'd like to do this particular A-level. They might have a bad day through no fault of their own. I mean, exams are very difficult things to do, but whatever happens, you then consider your options. And yes, there'll still be many university places available for most students, even if they don't quite get the grades that they wanted. But the important thing is they've got that wonderful apprenticeship offering, and they can apply for to do, you know, as I mentioned, higher apprenticeships, degree apprenticeships, or even now higher technical qualifications as well.
Okay.
And it is worth saying, isn't it, sorry, just before we let you go, that there are lots of options on the table, aren't there? And university isn't for everyone. And if it isn't, that's OK.
Absolutely. And you now have UCAS for apprenticeships, something I brought through with UCAS when I used to be a Minister for Skills. So you can apply for apprenticeships on the UCAS website. And as I mentioned, there's over 690 different kind of apprenticeship occupations that you can do, and you earn while you learn. You get a good skill. You know, you get a good job when you finish. So it's a no-brainer if you haven't, if you decide that after all you may not want to do a traditional academic degree at a university.
Great to see you this morning. Thanks very much indeed. I have to say, look, I'm all for university. I went, I loved it. But I do think, I think too many people go.
Yeah, and I think there's too many universities now, probably offering too many courses.
Yeah, I do sort of think it is. You are sort of pushed into thinking, well, that's just what you have to do, and fork out £9,000-10,000 a year, whatever it is, and all the rest of it. But if you want to do an academic, as Robert said, if you want to do an academic degree, great, go and do an academic degree, and it might serve you well if you're that type of person, got that sort of brain, want that sort of career. If you can do an apprenticeship where they are paying you, and at some point they will put you through university themselves.
And there's a job at the end.
Yeah, and it's not costing you tuition fees and all the rest of it. Why wouldn't you do that? Seems a much more sensible option.
And very interesting talking to Chris McGovern earlier, who is the chairman of the Campaign for Real Education. He was saying he'd shut half of the universities in this country and bring back polytechnics.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Let us know.
Yeah.
gbnews.com/you'll say.
And if fewer people are going, perhaps the state could pay for it.
Yeah. You said that as well, didn't you? You said more grants need to come back.
See, I got a grant to go to university. It didn't cost me a penny. It didn't cost us a penny in that way. You didn't, not paying for tuition fees or anything else. That was paid me money to go.
And with my university fees and my master's university fees, I think it's £70,000 worth in debt with the interest on top.
Are you?
Yeah.
You got a master's?
I do.
Oh, get you.
Get me.
I know.
But yeah, 70 grand. It's a lot of money.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then plus you've got to start saving for houses and all the rest of
Weddings,
it.
yeah. But
Weddings,
I think it's
pensions.
9% interest on top. So I'm actually just paying off the interest every month. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
I know. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say.
Now, it's a good day to be a train driver, it would seem, after ASLEF reached a deal with the government that could end 2 years of strikes.
Well, the offer of a 15% rise will now be put to its members. ASLEF leader Mick Whelan has spoken out to advise drivers to accept the good and fair offer.
Is it a good deal for us, though? Let's talk to former Labour spokesperson and political commentator James Matthewson. Good to see you this morning, James. Look, I'll be quite honest with you. There are a lot of people getting in touch now with us who are furious because it seems like the government's settling with all these people who are striking quite generously whilst taking money off pensioners.
It's difficult, isn't it, Stephen? I think the question we have to answer here is about priorities, right? And about who gets support, because everybody deserves support. A government exists to provide support to its population and to protect its population. Now, these disputes have been ongoing for so long, and I mean, they are so spread across the public sector that I don't think there is a single area of the public sector where there is not a backlog of strikes or kind of disputes about pay, about conditions. And it's not all about pay. This always gets dressed up as being purely about pay. In many cases, in this case as well, it's been about terms and conditions, about the job role and the requirements of people who work on trains, from guards on platforms to people being able to provide access for disability and travellers who need extra support. So there's multiple factors, but the government needs to end these disputes and move forward. And we should be proud of our trade union movement, because it's the only reason any of us have any rights, any protections. It's the only reason any of us are looking forward to the weekend ahead, because it's at the end of the day, it's those things that are hard fought and hard won by the trade union movement that protect us. So I think it's good the government is working with them. We've had a government for 14 years that hasn't worked with the trade unions, has worked directly against them, in my opinion. So it's a refreshing change. But I think the distribution of wealth and support for pensioners and support for much needed other areas of investment will come in due course, or so I hope anyway.
Talking about the relationship between Labour and the unions, there is now a fear about the amount of power that the unions hold over the Labour Party, which, of course, there are these plans, aren't there, to bring the railways back into public ownership.
Yeah, there's always fear about that, and it's quite an interesting thing, to be honest, to discuss, because people don't understand the history of the Labour Party. The Labour Party was created by the trade unions. It belongs to the trade unions. And that isn't something we should be scared of talking about, because the trade unions are set up, they're democratic, they're organisations that people join and that represent them in workplaces. They needed a political movement in the 1900s to represent them in Parliament as Parliament became more democratic. And the Labour Party was born. And of course, Keir, a different Keir at the time, it was Keir Hardie, who was the first MP who was elected for the Labour Party. So that's their history, and they're always going to be tied to the trade unions. But let me tell you, there is fractions in the Labour Party. There's all sorts of fractious relationships, because some people are very pro-trade union. People like Angela Rayner, she represents Unison. She was a carer. She came through that route. And then there are other people like Rachel Reeves, perhaps, who, will push back on pay rises for public sector employees.
OK. Look, really good to see you, James, this morning. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate it. David Lewis has been in touch on results and universities and all that sort of thing. He says, no disrespect, but I've worked with lots of people with a degree who can tell you the cubic volume of a pickle jar but cannot get the lid off.
It's common sense, isn't it? Yes. One or the other.
Fair point. It is 15 minutes past 7. Let's have a look at some of the other stories this morning.
And the World Health Organization's declared a fresh outbreak of Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, a global emergency. There have been almost 15,000 cases in the Democratic Republic of Congo this year alone, with 500 deaths. The virus spreads through close contact, and although it's usually mild, it can be fatal in rare cases.
Scientists have discovered the altar stone at the centre of Stonehenge was brought 500 miles from northern Scotland. Not Wales, as previously thought. Researchers call the discovery genuinely shocking, and they're now looking to find out how and why the stone was transported all the way from Scotland.
And today marks day one of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's tour of Colombia. The pair will spend 4 days visiting notable leaders and women's rights activists in the South American country. It's being called a quasi-royal trip. The Stonehenge story I absolutely love,
Yeah, me too.
I knew you'd love it.
Just because it's like, how did they do it?
Why?
Yeah, why is very good. Well, yeah,
How?
why, but how?
How? Apparently it's by land.
Well,
rather than by sea. You'd think they'd come round, but no, by land.
It's fascinating. It is bizarre.
I'm fascinated.
Aliens.
Do you reckon?
That wouldn't surprise me. I do sort of think it. I do.
It's fascinating. And I saw that story yesterday and I thought that is my story of the week.
Yeah, love it.
Brilliant stuff.
Now, today, Taylor Swift's Eras tour is, I know you're braced, finally coming back to London as she finishes the European leg of her world tour.
But, of course, there is a very serious side to this. Security is heightened following a terror threat in Vienna that saw the star cancel all 3 dates in Vienna last week. Many are asking, is there a risk attending at Wembley?
Well, let's talk to security specialist Will Geddes. Morning to you, Will.
Good morning.
Morning.
Clearly a very big Taylor Swift fan yourself.
I am huge Swiftie, yes.
They'll be all over this like a rash, though, won't they?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And we've got the history of dealing with terrorism in the finest and the best sense. And since 2017 in the Ariana Grande attack, obviously at Manchester Arena, the authorities and the private security sector have really got on top of counter-terrorism, especially when it comes to sort of public events and big venues. So in terms of the security that's going to be there, they're already making a lot of considerable changes. Certainly in the schedule's being brought forward a little earlier. So those that are going to be attending tomorrow, Friday, and I believe Saturday, will need to make sure that they get there on the appropriate times. The general admission is going to be now about 4 p.m. The show itself is very long, and Taylor generally will come on about 7:25 in the evening. But again, she may come forward as well, bring her performance a little earlier. But one of the considerable changes is they have what they call tailgating, which is lots of fans that turn up that don't have tickets, that want to congregate outside. And this was one of the biggest concerns with Vienna, that they would be the ones that were vulnerable and susceptible to the attack. What they'll be doing at Wembley is preventing that happening. So disappointing for the tailgaters, but something that really needs to be addressed on a serious level at this current time anyway.
And we'll paint a picture, if you will, of the number of people that will be involved in this sort of security operation. So I was reading in the papers this morning that Taylor Swift herself has something like 36 close protection officers. Yeah. It's a huge operation to look after a megastar of this kind.
Yeah, you've got a really fantastic sort of collaboration of various different sort of public authorities and private security which is going to be involved here. I know a couple of guys who used to be on Taylor Swift's security team, were close protection officers for her, and I know they're very, very, very good. So they'll be working with the venue. Wembley has a long-standing history of dealing with major events that could be targeted by terrorists. The authorities will be bringing everything to bear as well to make sure that there are various different thresholds. So anybody, again, going to the concerts needs to make sure that they are prepared for a bit of a slow entry into the venue itself, because there will be various different checkpoints along the way, searches for bags. So take as little as possible with you.
Would you be nervous if you were going, or someone? I have to say, just talking about it. I mean, not that I'll be going.
Yeah.
But you sort of think, heck, I would if I was a parent. I'd be worried about a teenage daughter going to something like this, just knowing that someone's got an eye on it, thinking that's what we want to go for.
Well, I totally agree, Stephen. I think there are lots of people who will be feeling a bit anxious about things, certainly since last week. But Vienna Stadium was very different to Wembley. Wembley, like I said, has got a long history of dealing with major events, which were the perfect kind of prize for a terrorist group. The authorities have also, from what I understand, have not picked up on any particular chatter or any particular activity by those that they have under watch that are planning to do anything. And to be honest, with all the various security, and going to your point, Ellie, there's additional private security, from what I understand, that will be working in a counter-terrorism role as well, that will be dotted amongst the crowd. So if I had kids going along, I would feel probably more assured about them going to Wembley than probably any other venue. So, you know, security will be absolutely at the max. But what we can't allow is, as we always say, the terrorists to prevent us having fun and living our lives.
Fair point. Will, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
Now, at 21 minutes past 7, let's take a look at the weather with Alex Deacon.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Something of a north-south split today. Lots of cloud across the north, outbreaks of rain this morning, whereas much of the south staying dry until tonight. In fact, a much brighter day on the south coast compared to yesterday, but it's dull and damp for much of Scotland and Northern Ireland this morning. That rain is trickling into northwest England and North Wales and will continue to spread southwards towards the Midlands by the end of the afternoon. At the same time, it does start to clear from the far northwest. Yes, we'll see increasing increasing cloud further south, but we should see some decent spells of sunshine, 25, 26 degrees. In this rainier zone, though, it's also going to be quite windy, particularly for North Wales, North West England, South West Scotland. By the time we get to this evening's rush hour, the rain should be pulling away from most of Scotland. Some sunny spells over the Highlands, but still 1 or 2 showers. Could still be quite grey on the east coast at this stage and potentially through the central belt, although the rain will be heading away by 5 or 6 o'clock. Should be clearing from Northern Ireland by then as well, so for many here a fine evening. Still quite blustery over Wales and northwest England with outbreaks of rain. It's just spreading down towards the southwest, whereas East Anglia in the southeast should stay dry well into the evening. It's not really until later on we start to see that rain spreading across East Anglia and then the southeast of England. 1 or 2 heavy bursts as it clears through. For many it will turn clearer and cooler, with temperatures down to single figures in rural parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Still quite warm and humid across East Anglia and the southeast. Any early rain should scoot away tomorrow morning, but there is the potential the warmth and humidity may linger across the southeast, which could give some afternoon showers. Certainly looking at some showers across the northwest of Scotland. For many, tomorrow's a decent looking day. Dry and bright. A fresher feel as well, and temperatures close to the average for the time of year. Generally high teens across the north, low to mid-20s further south.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, some good news this morning. There's a final 3 weeks of our £30,000 Great British Giveaway still to come. Struggle with that one. But there's still plenty of time to get your entry in, so have a little think. What would you do with all of that extra cash? Here are all the details that you need for a chance to win it.
Celebrate a spectacular summer with your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash in our Great British Giveaway. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, and it's totally tax-free. What would you spend that on? Luxury holidays, a new car, or just put it away for a rainy day? Whatever you do with £30,000 in tax-free cash, make sure you don't miss out on a chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, best of luck to you. If you win 30 grand, maybe you can spend a lot of board games to have old-fashioned fun. But apparently they've gone woke. We're discussing that next.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have saved Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Now, the Scrabble dictionary. I didn't know there was one. I just thought you just used an ordinary dictionary. But anyway, Scrabble has its own dictionary. And they've added 2,000 new words, a lot from Gen Z, including words like sitch.
Which means situation.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Yeet.
Which is an expression of excitement.
Oh, right.
Or throwing something. Yeah.
Right.
And lots of other words too. Meanwhile, other words have been banned, which could simply imply something negative, as bosses argue they don't want to hurt people's feelings.
Like what?
I don't know. But apparently lots of words have been...
Oh, apparently it's inappropriate.
Inappropriate to say.
Oh, right. Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
No one's told me what they are. So has it all gone a bit woke? Let's talk to social behaviour and etiquette expert Liz Brewer and linguistics communications expert Dr. Alex Baratta. Good to see you both this morning. Liz, what do you think?
I say, well, where's the world going? I think the whole thing's ridiculous. Was thinking about Scrabble. I happen to love Scrabble. And there is, of course, a Scrabble dictionary, which I object to because I think you have to actually use your brain and not look up for these extraordinary little words. But I was thinking last night, when I wasn't sleeping, what happens with Monopoly? You know, go to jail, move directly to jail, do not plus go, do not collect £200. We're not going to have pounds any longer, so they're going to change that too. So everything will change. And then I was thinking, well, you know, we live in a world where, go back to the 15th century, 16th century, we had a totally different type of English then. So things evolve. Do I have to accept these new words? I suppose there's a whole generation growing up. They're used to them. I don't understand them. I spoke to my niece the other day because even in courting, there's a different language. You know, when people ghost you and all this business. I haven't a clue what they're talking about. So, you know, I'm a different generation. Maybe we have to learn some of the new expressions, although I must admit, sitch and geet, etc., it doesn't seem to describe what the word means, so I don't know where they've come from.
Dr. Alex, what do you make of these new words?
Well, they're just a sign of the times. Obviously, society is always changing, so language changes as a result, and then the language reflects society's norms and such. In terms of is this woke? Well, I think it is in both senses. I mean, there's a positive sense in that we're trying to adjust, any kinds of instances of racial discrimination or discrimination in general. So some will be saying this is a good sign. It's not about board games per se. It's about anything and everything, from board games to job interviews, whatever it might be. We're trying to adjust and, not let people get points for using certain terms. Not that I think they're trying to do so. Then there'll be others who are going to roll their eyes and say, yeah, it's gone too far. I mean, now we're using terms like unalive, which I think means to kill someone. And I've said in an early interview, in all seriousness, if veterinarians in the future have to refer to female dogs and wolves as she-dogs or girl wolves, then we're in trouble.
Oh, do you think we're heading in that direction?
Possibly. Again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, I'm going back to when I was a boy in high school. You'd have people kids in the hallway telling racist jokes. And if someone in the group who may have been their friend was of that race, they would say the disclaimer, "Oh, not you, I don't mean you." Well, that's, we got to get away from that kind of thing, of course. So in principle, it's a good thing. We don't want to have this hanging over us and being able to use terms or any other kind of discriminatory behavior. But if it keeps going too far, then like unalive is the word kill going to offend people?
Liz, I can hear you're very unhappy over here. What do you think?
What's racial discrimination, etc., got to do with word games? I can understand things changing and evolving, as I already explained, with something like Monopoly. But when it comes to a game like Scrabble, and you've got a whole new dictionary, you already do have a dictionary of these little words, which can, lose or win you the game. But I don't see where there's any discrimination there or actually causing offence. So that I don't understand what it has to do with playing board games and word games. Don't you agree?
Alex?
Oh, okay. Well, I agree. I mean, some of the terms themselves, like unalive, is not about discrimination. I think it's got to the point where anything that could be offensive, not based on any of the, can I say, obvious categories like race, ethnicity, religion, and such.
Alex, why would it be offensive? What is offensive about playing a word in a game of Scrabble?
I'm not saying it is.
Okay.
What is it? It's reflecting that maybe things have gone too far because we play board games in the privacy of our own home, and we can decide. I mean, when I played Scrabble or Clue as a kid, we would break the rules if we wanted to. You can do whatever you want. It's a private thing. Presumably, it's not going to be played in a public arena. Yeah, but some of the terms like redneck, hunky, even though people who may not be there who would say, well, I identify as do people even use the term hunky now? Some would say it's the word honky came from that. I don't know.
Did you say hunky or chunky?
Hunky.
Oh, hunky. Hunky. I've no idea what it means. You see, there are all these words, and it's a new language. Somebody of my generation, I'm not quite sure what my generation is, but anyway, of my generation, I don't understand them. Therefore, of course, when we're playing a game like Scrabble, we have this new Scrabble dictionary, which I think's cheating. But I don't understand when it comes to board games how we can be offending anyone. And you hit it on the head. You say these are games that when you were younger, you played at home. I play Scrabble now. I love games. I absolutely adore them. So I don't understand how I'm offending anyone or what is offensive.
Well, there's no offense, perhaps. If you're all there in a group and no one's getting offended, then strictly speaking, no one is getting offended. I think what it is, it's a way to try and reflect the broader societal movement of let's not use words in any way that could be offensive if the people, who don't want to hear these words were present. Therefore, we're not going to validate it.
I just want to say one thing. So just supposing I had white or black on my little Scrabble, can I not use those? Is that offensive? Am I offending somebody by putting BLACK or WHITE? Am I offending anyone?
Well, no.
I would say no.
No.
Right.
Right, we've got to leave it there, sadly, because we are out of time. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay with us. Still to come, Paul Coit has all your sport. Big changes are being made to VAR to help improve and ease player burnout. We're going to find out more after this.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Cumbria, the A595 is closed southbound off the A66 from the Bridgefoot roundabout to Lily Hall after an accident. Sheffield Supertram services aren't running between Meadow Hall South and Tinsley and Rotherham Park Gate because of a signalling problem. The A1M in Cambridge is partly blocked southbound by an accident on the entry split road at junction 17 at Peterborough. The M25 in Buckinghamshire, it's down to 2 out of 4 lanes anti-clockwise where overnight roadworks have overrun from junction 16 and 15 from the M40 to the M4, with queues from junction 17 at Maple Cross. There are some cancelled trains into Waterloo Station in London because of a signalling problem. In Surrey, the A324 is closed along Lockfield Drive in Woking after an accident. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either. This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, Paul's here with all the sport. Oh, I beat you to it.
Ah.
Sorry.
You're allowed, it's fine.
Let's talk VAR, should we?
Yeah, there's going to be some changes. Well, the new Premier League season starts this weekend.
I'm interested in these changes. They caught my eye this morning.
What was the one that caught your eye more than anything else?
The celebrations rule. Am I right? Is this part of the new rules?
That's not VAR, is it, though?
This is the AI thing?
Yes.
OK. There's two stories that caught my eye then.
VAR... PC, you name it, it's all in there. The VAR, we know what the problems have been over the years, don't we? We know there's been all sorts of problems because the decisions being wrong sometimes, the wait, that you have to wait 3 minutes sometimes for a decision to be made. Apparently, everything's going to be terrific from now on. Now, there's going to be written messages that are going to be up on the screen. So when you wonder what's going on, because the thing is, when you're at the game, as you well know, when there's a decision, you think, well, I don't know what's going on, what's the hold-up? Yeah. There'll be things written on the screen, so a whole written thing, you better see it. Everything is going to be a lot more transparent, so that's good. The decision's going to be so much quicker due to...
Seconds, will it?
Literally, in fact, less than seconds.
Oh.
In fact, you will know what's happened before they've even scored the goal. That's how quick things are going to be. Semi-automatic offside technology. So all the stadiums or the stadia in the Premier League have these cameras all the way along the stand. So there's all these new cameras. So it picks up absolutely everything. So the worst part of VAR is, hold on, is it offside? Then everybody celebrates, and then you have to sit and wait. And so the excitement is gone. I mean, when Spurs scored against Arsenal, there was a goal that was disallowed. I went crazy. And then I'm like, and then it was like, no. And it was the worst feeling because it's the excitement to the anyway. So anyway, that's not going to happen anymore. Hopefully the decisions will be like that and people will know immediately straight away. 30-second celebrations as well.
I like the story, yeah.
Yeah, you like the fact of the 30-second celebration?
I think it's nice. You get your moment, and then we all move along.
Yeah, this is exactly
and it's not added to extra time at the end. I think that's fair.
Because always the talk was, oh, we're losing so much of the game. We're losing so much time. Now there's complaints, the players play too much. So therefore, we're adding too much time on. So what they're going to do is to allow 30 seconds for a celebration. Go on then, you can run around, you can cheer, you can jump up and down, but then it won't be added on at the end. And also the other thing, which is good, is less time wasting when you have the rolling around on the floor. I'm injured. Yeah, we went in 2-0, but it's to make this how this injury's going. So they're not going to take any of that. Yellow cards, and people will be punished for wasting time, which is all good.
Interesting.
So
I love the fact. I mean, I noticed during the Euros there are a couple of times you see people rolling about, and then they're just not getting up.
Yeah.
When they notice that the game's just going on anyway, and they've been ignored by the ref. They just get up and start running.
This is it, you know, and that's when they should actually get a yellow card and go, hold on, just now, go, yeah, well, it feels so much better now, ref.
Yeah.
All
the theatrics are just...
Absolute nonsense.
Too
so
much.
anyway, hopefully these changes, because VAR essentially really should be a good thing, because it's proof what you're seeing is something that's happened. So it's actually recording reality. Instead of a fact of going, oh, well, that's not right. You're looking at it, but it's just the way that it's used. So hopefully they'll realise that, and now it'll be the quickest decisions anywhere with any sport. So hopefully everything's going to be fine.
Right. Should we talk about Wayne Rooney?
Yeah, Wayne Rooney, he's now the Plymouth Argyle manager. Very important that he does well, because where you go from here, I really don't know if it doesn't work out for Wayne Rooney. So they lost 4-0 first game of the season against Sheffield Wednesday, and it's like, oh dear, he was digging the players out and saying this isn't right and this is wrong. But anyway, they beat Cheltenham Town yesterday. Again, not the glamour tie. But it's in the Carabao Cup. They won 3-0. So he's going to be happy. They're at home to Hull on Sunday. And also the other rumours that are going around at the moment is Mauricio Pochettino, who left Chelsea, who I know wasn't happy at Chelsea. I still think it's a crazy decision for Chelsea to get rid of him. That it looks like today we could expect that he'll be announced as the boss of the United States of America.
Really?
So how do we feel about that? I mean, it's not. Is it a great move for a career,
or
is it a great move for a life?
It always seems like you're hitting the end of the line when you move to America, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Footballers or managers.
So you can't really see that unless with America he goes and wins the World Cup, which is actually going to be in the States, we should mention, in 3 years' time. So that's or 2 years' time even. So it's going to be 2 years' time in America and Canada and Mexico. Maybe that's going to be great because that's where football is going to be, and he's going to be in the forefront of it. But anyway, should be a very nice move from Mauricio.
OK.
Well, it's the right one.
Thank
I don't know,
you
but it should be good.
very, very much.
Only 15 minutes to go, Paul.
He's a wreck.
You know,
Don't remind him.
Oh, yeah.
Don't remind him.
Ruby, yep.
But we will remind you to text her or call her.
Do I say the results? Do whatever happens? Yeah.
No.
If she's she's happy and she approves, yes, we'd love to know how
and
to
if
do
there's, if you
and
don't
if she's
hear me
not
mention
happy,
it,
we won't mention anything.
Right, fine.
Yeah. Either way, she's going to be fine.
Okay.
And we're very proud of her.
That's made me really nervous now.
Yeah.
Don't be nervous.
Right, got the papers heading away in just a moment.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
With record temperatures expected this week, how do zoos keep their cooler creatures cold? Well, at Yorkshire Wildlife Park, the polar bears are enjoying a vegetable ice block.
Polar bears, they do have quite a variety of different temperatures that they naturally do find. Once they're moving off these polar ice caps, they are in the likes of down in the areas of Canada, Hudson Bay. Naturally, they were finding polar bears in 35-degree temperatures year upon year. So they are very much used to warm temperatures and heat waves as such. What you'll tend to find is they'll go for a good swim and then go for a snooze in the shade thereafter.
Not wanting to miss out, the sea lions are treated to a huge fish lolly.
In the hot weather, it's really important to give them ice because these guys, they don't drink salt water. These pools are actually saltwater pools. They actually drink fresh water. They've got 2 freshwater pools in their house, but again, being able to provide that in their outside enclosure is also really important. So offering them ice with their fish is not only enriching, but it's actually beneficial to their welfare as well.
Other animals like the lemurs will be basking in the sun, but also cooling down with frozen sweet potato.
So we've got 3 different species of lemur here. They come in all different shapes, colours, sizes, but they are native to Madagascar. Madagascar can get quite hot, understandably, so throughout the cold months here in Yorkshire, we do give them a nice heated house all year round, but especially making sure it's nice and warm in the winter for them. And it does mean that in the hot spells as well that we're able to keep our eyes on them and try and give them things that make them a bit more comfortable with that incoming hot weather as well.
The frozen food on offer here certainly has the seal of approval on what could be the hottest day of the year.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have said Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
went everywhere. Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Going through the papers with author and journalist Susan Holder and former special advisor to Michael Gove, Charlie Rowley. Good to see you both this morning. And Susan, we are so excited about this story, this jaw-dropping find of a Scottish altar at Stonehenge. How and why?
Yeah, so they've done some research into the origins of the stones at Stonehenge, and for a long time, a lot of people thought they had come. The furthest they'd come was from Wales, which is kind of weird, remarkable in itself. But what they've found is, and it's the altar stone, which is kind of buried underneath other stones. It's not one of the ones that you would look at on the top or standing upright. It's buried underneath. It's the altar stone. And it has come, according to the tests that they've done, and it is actually apparently a fraction of percent likely to be unlikely, to be wrong. It is correct that it's come from as far as Orkney or northern Scotland. And the way that what's more interesting is how, obviously. I heard you say earlier that aliens, and it's a good explanation because how else could it have been done?
But remarkably, every single person messaging gbnews.com/you'll said, well, clearly it came down in a glacier.
Yes.
Well, maybe it did, but I mean, if the
that's quite clever.
But the experts say they're not sure. Yeah, they say it was dragged or floated.
Oh, the glacier is actually very, very good. Aren't they clever? Aren't some of the viewers clever then, thinking of that? But
if that was the case, we'd have loads of that type of stone in the area.
True. But also, what I quite like is the degree of cooperation it suggests between, because it would have taken years to have brought it down on some sort of trundling device. It's not something you kind of do in a few weeks. It would take years, and also the cooperation to kind of build that, to source stones from local stone, Wales and Scotland, and kind of build this all for a common purpose as well. The degree of cooperation between all the different countries in Neolithic times. If only we had that now.
Yes. Aliens.
Or aliens.
The SNP will be tearing their hair out. The thought that there is a union.
For that reason alone, I think it's a brilliant story. Yeah.
Let's talk about parents, should we, Charlie? Sneaking off to the toilet.
Well, yes.
Just to avoid the kids.
To avoid the kids. I mean, the summer holiday season is here, where you obviously have your kids at home. Not that I've got any kids at home. I've never been kissed.
That is where it starts.
So I'm told. But if you've got kids at home, you may find the increased levels of stress looking after them over the summer holidays. And it is now 4 in 10 parents, apparently, according to the Mail Online and the Star, the Daily Star, that parents are spending a little bit longer in the loo, what was considered as a normal visit. They're spending a bit longer there, but also some are just absconding to the toilet.
They're probably on their phones,
just to get away from the kids.
And can I just say, as the only person on the panel who currently is a parent and has had children, I do get a bit kind of weary of these like moaning parents about their children. The days are long, but the years are short, is all I will say to people with
that's profound.
as the mother of a boy who got married, this year, who's now 29, I mean, it's a heartbeat since I was kind of hiding in the toilet. And I didn't go and hide in the toilet, actually, because if you actually are a parent, I don't know who wrote this piece, but if you're a parent, you don't get to go to the toilet by yourself when your children
They're with
you. Even if you shut the door, they're banging on the door asking you questions. You can't be gone for that long. It just doesn't happen. But as I say, it does go by very quickly. And the best thing, I'm of the era that brought children up without screens and devices and stuff, and what they want is your attention. And whether you're baking with them or playing badminton in the garden, you don't have to take them to Alton Towers. You don't have to spend a fortune. That is what they want. And although I know people will be tearing their hair out with and I've got 2 step-grandchildren now, who are 6 and 13, so I'm back in it again. I know what it's like, that you don't get a minute to kind of sit down and do what you want. But yeah, the toilet isn't where you can hide, actually, because they'll find you.
Yeah, they will. You need to lock yourself in the car.
yes, miles away.
And drive away.
Once you've driven miles away, maybe just stay
We're not advocating you drive away from your children.
Let's just quickly have a look at this in the Mail. It's about getting older, which, I mean, you clearly aren't, Susan. Charlie, with a few wrinkles.
Well, how dare you? I've been so insulted.
He's been very brave as you sat right next to him.
I'm approaching 21.
From which direction?
From the wrong direction. From the wrong direction.
Well, apparently, you don't age gracefully. Nobody does. It's impossible because you kind of age in bursts. So they're saying a survey has found that, and the key points to look for are age 44 and 60, where apparently things kind of go on chemically in your body. And they thought at first that for women it was to do with the menopause, but no, actually, men at 44 are just as changing just as rapidly.
What happens to us at 44? I don't remember anything.
You've got big changes in the number of molecules.
Molecules?
Yes, you're looking at me like I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, big changes in the number of molecules. But this is then related to alcohol, caffeine, and fat metabolism. But that isn't to do with your age. That's to do with what you're doing, isn't it? I think so. There's kind of a mishmash there of what's going on chemically and what you might be able to kind of do something about if you. Obviously, at 44, you're going to kind of be doing more things to do with that than you probably were at 14, say. So that is the correlation there. But there are these bursts of kind of activity inside you that lead to your ageing.
Oh, well, it's you've got
all of that to look forward to, Charlie.
Oh, stop it.
It's
too late now.
We've just got the 61 to look forward to.
We have. Thank you for that.
Right, thank you both. See you later. Here's the weather.
Warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Something of a north-south split today, lots of cloud across the north, outbreaks of rain this morning, whereas much of the south staying dry until tonight. In fact, a much brighter day on the south coast compared to yesterday, but it's dull and damp for much of Scotland and Northern Ireland this morning. That rain is trickling into northwest England and North Wales and will continue to spread southwards towards the Midlands by the end of the afternoon. At the same time, it does start to clear from the far northwest. Yes, we'll see increasing cloud further south, but we should see some decent spells of sunshine, 25, 26 degrees. In this rainier zone, though, it's also going to be quite windy, particularly for North Wales, northwest England, southwest Scotland. By the time we get to this evening's rush hour, the rain should be pulling away from most of Scotland. Some sunny spells over the Highlands, but still 1 or 2 showers. Could still be quite grey on the east coast at this stage and potentially through the central belt, although the rain will be heading away by 5 or 6 o'clock. Should be clearing from Northern Ireland by then as well, so for many here a fine evening. Still quite blustery over Wales and northwest England with outbreaks of rain. It's just spreading down towards the southwest, whereas East Anglia in the southeast should stay dry well into the evening. It's not really until later on we start to see that rain spreading across East Anglia and then the southeast of England. 1 or 2 heavy bursts as it clears through. For many, it'll turn clearer and cooler, with temperatures down to single figures in rural parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Still quite warm and humid across East Anglia and the southeast. Any early rain should scoot away tomorrow morning, but there is the potential the warmth and humidity may linger across the southeast, which could give some afternoon showers. So looking at some showers across the northwest of Scotland. For many, tomorrow's a decent looking day. Dry and bright. A fresher feel as well, and temperatures close to the average for the time of year. Generally high teens across the north, low to mid-20s further south.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar. sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Cumbria, the A595 is closed each way off the A66 between the Bridgefoot roundabout and Lilyhall after an accident. Sheffield Supertram services aren't running between Rotherham Park Gate and either Meadowhall South or Tinsley because of a signalling problem. On the M56 in Greater Manchester, the inside lane's closed eastbound after an accident earlier between junction 6 and 5 from Hale to Manchester Airport. On the A1M in Cambridgeshire, the inside lane's closed southbound at junction 17 at Peterborough after an accident. Delays towards and past there. Now, the M4 Prince of Wales Bridge is partly blocked eastbound going from Wales into England after an accident causing queues. In Surrey, the A324 is closed along Lockfield Drive in Woking after an accident. And on the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour in westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Celebrate a spectacular summer with your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash in our Great British Giveaway. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, and it's totally tax-free. What would you spend that on? Luxury holidays, a new car, or just put it away for a rainy day? Whatever you do with £30,000 in tax-free cash, make sure you don't miss out on a chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. A-level results are in.
Yes, we'll be finding out more about how everyone has done in just a few minutes' time.
Also today, it's a good day to be a train driver. The government gives in to a 15% pay rise to end the strikes, so the average driver's salary as a result will be 70 grand.
And it's not just train drivers who are in luck. Labour agreed to £13.5 million in funding for Tata Steel.
Ukraine defy the odds and claim more territory in Russia as the MOD confirms the use of British weapons in the operation.
And Swiftie fever sweeps London as thousands of people prepare for Taylor Swift to take to Wembley tonight.
And have board games gone woke? Well, that's what we've been asking in the last hour.
And reports circle the Princess of Wales could return to frontline royal duties in the autumn after opening up earlier this year about her cancer battle.
And in the sport today, Mauricio Pochettino looks set to become the new manager of the United States. Can anybody beat Real Madrid now? When you've got Mbappe and Bellingham playing together as they won the UEFA Super Cup last night. And with the Premier League returning this weekend, players will be allowed 30 seconds to celebrate goals, unless VAR takes it away, of course.
A brighter day across parts of the south compared to yesterday, but further north it is going to be at times pretty dull, pretty damp, and in places fairly windy. Join me later for a full forecast.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
there'll be plenty of anxious parents, grandparents, not to mention the kids themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Waiting for their A-level results right now.
It's anxious time, isn't it? I remember walking into that exam hall, absolute bag of nerves, and I could never open it in front of people. I'd have to go sit in the car. I'd have to say, Mum, stand outside the car. And then I'd open them in the car. Oh. And that's how I'd have to do it. And then we'd drive straight home. I don't want to talk to anybody.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I prefer just get them in an email.
Badly?
No.
I did really well.
No, I did OK. But I've never been able to cope with it. Oh. So, but you went straight in, didn't you?
Went in, but I drove myself.
Oh, did you? God,
and then we all went round to a mate's house.
Because you were 35 at the time.
Yeah. I'd have to be driven. I'd be a bag of nerves. What's Ruby doing today? Is Sue driving Ruby?
Yes, on their way over there. See, I think some get it online. There are certain schools that get it online. I think private schools are getting online.
Oh, really?
Whereas other schools, they have to go in and get the...
I think that's better.
What, you think it's better, to actually get it in an envelope?
To go in, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
But really, everybody should get them surely at exactly the same time, because then if you want to go to clearing, then other people are going to be having advantage over others.
Oh, give over.
Listen,
give over.
Don't give me. You got to give me don't give me a hard time. I'm a very expectant parent right now. I'm a little worried. I'm a little nervous, and you know what?
Are you
I'm a little testy as well.
Are you genuinely, or are you putting it on for?
No, I'm serious. No, I'm very worried. Yeah, I don't know where she's going to go. I don't know how. This is, whatever. It's my child's future. I don't know what to do.
It's your baby.
Still nothing. There's still nothing.
Paul, she's leaving.
Can we phone the school?
Come on, Meg. She's leaving home, Paul.
She is not.
Don't start him on that.
She stays.
No, think how fabulous that'll be.
No, he's going to miss her. He can't cope.
I'll have to
get... another couple of years, the boy will be gone. You'll just be you two on your own. It'd be brilliant. It'd be like when you first married again.
All right, and I'll have to get more dogs?
Yeah, I was about to say, you'll want more dogs, won't you?
No, the dogs have got their A-levels next year.
Yeah. They'll be off too.
I know some of you...
You're not helping.
Some of you are being a bit unsympathetic today, because you're being like, well, you don't care about A-levels. Well, maybe you're just not of the age. But actually, if you think back to when you got your results, whatever it was, whatever sort of exams they were, it's an important day.
Yeah, it matters a lot to these students who work very hard. So best of luck to all of you getting results today. Best of luck to Ruby. Let us know when you know.
I will, of course.
Yeah, because she's one of thousands of teenagers who are opening those papers as we speak.
Yes, 230,000 18-year-olds are eagerly opening their results. We're joined now by GB News reporter Will Hollis, who is with some of them. Morning to you, Will, and we can imagine you're with lots of very nervous young people this morning and their teachers.
Good morning. Well, here at the courtyard outside of Lichfield Cathedral School in Staffordshire, it was fairly quiet, and then it hit 8 o'clock. A noise erupted as the young people who are getting their A-level results started to go and claim them, and we've seen envelopes being ripped open eagerly, and a lot of happy people so far. Not quite as many as you would expect for the opening time of 8 o'clock, but we're hearing that over the next hour, lots more young people are going to be coming. Isn't that right, Sue, who's the head teacher here at the school? What's going on behind the scenes here, outside of the shot that people can't see?
Well, there are a lot of in fact, there are more teachers here than students at the moment, because I think they're equally as nervous as the students. Although, to be fair, they would have seen the results a little bit earlier. But a huge amount of work goes into getting to this day, and it's just wonderful to see, tears of happiness. It's exactly what we would want.
So you've got a bit of behind-the-scenes knowledge. How have your students done this year at Lichfield Cathedral School?
Well, thankfully, they've done exceedingly well. I really couldn't be more proud of them. It's incredible how well they've done, because, of course, although the grades go back this year to pre-pandemic levels, they are still students who have been affected.
Yeah. So they would have been in year 9 or 10 studying towards their GCSEs. Now they're here getting their A-levels. How has this period of 4 years of education been for young people who've gone through this system at a time when measures were put into place to make sure people got fair grades, but they were inflated during that period of time, and the government is trying to bring them back down?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And of course, we know that in terms of mental health, we do have a problem in the country with statistics going up in terms of poor health. And I think some of that is absolutely to do with the pandemic. There's no doubt. They're very aware, these youngsters, they're bright. They're aware that this is what's happening with their grades. So I think that has caused some anxiety. But certainly we're seeing some happiness here this morning.
This is the joy and jubilation after what is reasonably years of stress and upset and anguish. But what does it mean today to get these results, and how will these students be feeling in the moments before they open them, and hopefully how they'll be feeling afterwards?
So, well, this is what it's all about, right? So they go from, I think, almost terror and anxiety of what have I got? Is it going to be enough? Can I take my next steps? And then they fly like fireworks in all different directions to shine brightly, and it's really, really exciting.
This is a fee-paying school. What is this school like, and what will the students be hoping to go on to do next, which I imagine is a variety of things?
Yes, in truth, like any school, they're young people with a myriad of interests and talents, and we have some going off for degree apprenticeships, some for degrees, some for apprenticeships. It varies, all sorts of things. We've got some lawyers, some medics, as you might expect. We've got people doing set design. We've got people doing astrophysics. I mean, all sorts.
And how important is encouraging young people, even at a school like Lichfield Cathedral School, to go on and do anything, maybe not just going to university? That was a cheer in the background, and somebody's hugging because they've clearly got the results that they wanted. What's that moment like when people are celebrating?
Oh, honestly, I don't think there are words. You know, teaching is a vocation, and when the young people do well, there's no better feeling in the world.
And they can go on to do anything? It's not just about university, do you think?
No, they can absolutely go on to do anything. And I would say increasingly young people are choosing apprenticeship routes as opposed to university, actually, apart from anything else, to avoid the costs.
And because it is a fee-paying school, right now we are talking about Labour's proposals and plans to charge tax on top of the fees. What would that mean for some of the students here or in the future that would choose to come to a private school?
I think undoubtedly for some parents it will become an affordable choice. I mean, we have a number of students here, a significant number, who have bursaries and scholarships. We have a lot of singers, obviously. We're a cathedral school, they get a lot of funding. But it will be unaffordable for some in the future if VAT goes on, there's no question about it.
And what's the message then to the government and to the policymakers behind the Labour government?
I think they need to think extremely carefully about the impact on the maintained sector, because I'm not quite sure where the children who are pushed out of this sector are actually going to go. Where are the spaces?
Sue Hannam, head teacher here at Lichfield Cathedral School. Thank you so much, first of all, for giving your time at 8 o'clock when you should be celebrating with these students. And I know that we'll be speaking to some students in the next hour here on Breakfast, live on GB News.
Well,
Will, thank you very much.
Thanks for bringing that to us.
Can I just say, because it's... Anne has been into Morning Anne, she says exams, it's not news, it happens every year. It doesn't happen every year to them. Does it? For them, this is the only time in their life, and so it does matter to that. You just need to bear that in mind. Yeah. I think it is important, and it's our future generations. These are the people who are going to support us in our old age.
And grow our economy, hopefully.
Yes, we want them to do well. All right, let's head to Jack Carson, should we, who's at Coventry University. Morning to you, Jack.
Morning to you both. Of course, you heard from all, there's some very, as you imagine, nervous students in the background, but more than 320,000 18-year-olds have applied for university this year. That's the second highest on record, and a lot of those students might not necessarily be getting the results that they hope for, that they may be wanted, worried about what happens then to their university place. But that's where clearing comes in. Here at Coventry University, the clearing lines have just opened. They've just had their briefing. The calls, I should imagine, are already starting to come in as those students open their results. We're joined with Professor Ian Dunn, who's the provost here at Coventry University. Just kind of explain to us, you know, for those students maybe at home, they've just opened their results, they're worried now what happens next. What kind of is clearing? What is that process?
OK, well, the first thing to say is don't panic. Take some time and have a thought and have a cup of tea and think. Clearing is an opportunity for people to review their results, both those students that have achieved slightly better than they may have hoped, and those students who achieved not quite as well as they hoped. An opportunity for them to have a second go at looking at other universities. Lots of things changed between the application point back in October, November, December last year and going to university. It is also now a second thing, which is the second largest application point into universities. There are quite a lot of students, and often mature students who are not in a school, who we forget about quite often, who make their applications much later than the traditional students. And for them, this is a first opportunity to look at universities.
And it is obviously a worrying time for a lot of students thinking about their future and trying to almost feel like you have to decide what you do with your life at 18, but it's not, you know, your life starts at 18, I guess it doesn't end. What kind of tips can you give to students that might be thinking about calling up clearing today?
Well, do your research. Make sure that you get onto websites and have a look at information that's available. There will be information both about courses which are available, and there are very many courses available through clearing in almost all the universities across the country. Take the time to do that research properly. Perhaps have a conversation with a number of universities. You don't have to make the decision there and then on the telephone line. You can have a conversation. It's not the case that everything will be decided in the next, all the places will have gone in the next hour. That isn't the case. Some places will fill up, but take the time to research, because in the end you're going to spend the next 3 or 4 years of your life studying in that place, and you've got to be happy and content.
All right, Ian, thank you so much for joining us this morning and for those tips. Of course, lots of helpful advice there if you are calling clearing today at any university across the country.
Yes, indeed. Jack, thank you very much indeed. And there's lots of clearing places. You can end up somewhere fantastic doing a fantastic course, or you can look at the apprenticeships.
On UCAS.
On UCAS.
Also available to you. Yeah, lots of options out there for people. University isn't for everyone, and that's OK. That's the message for today, isn't it?
If you don't make the grades you were wanting, see what else is out there.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's just one of those things. It's not the end of the world. Do not think it's the end of the world, because it really isn't.
And it might end up being the best thing that ever happened to you.
Could well be.
Now, let's look over to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, shall we? Because authorities in Russia's Kursk region have evacuated 200,000 people following continued Ukrainian advances into the country. Well, earlier on in the show, we spoke to former Armed Forces Minister James Heappey. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, that was exactly the words that I was going to use in response to where I thought your question would end. It is wishful thinking, I'm afraid. It is good in that it proves that Ukraine is perfectly capable of getting on the offensive. It shows just how attritional the battle on the long-standing front line now is, where they're just in this constant grind. Whichever side is on the offensive is running up against very well-prepared defences. At the moment, Russia is moving forward, but very, very slowly and at enormous cost to its army. Where the defences are less well-prepared, Ukraine has shown that it can break through and gain some pretty quick success. The West should use this as a siren call to keep backing Ukraine, because they're showing us that what they're capable of. But I'm afraid that it means nothing in terms of accelerating towards the end of the war.
You can imagine it will be good for morale, though, inside Ukraine, especially seeing Russian prisoners of war, for example.
Hugely so. In sport as much as in war, nobody revels in defence.
I just want to bring you some breaking news this morning, and we're hearing that the economy has grown. That's the positive news, up 0.6% between April to June this year. Now, we don't have the details on quite what's driven that. It's not a huge rise. All of these rises that we talk about recently, what economists would sort of describe, recent years as being pretty flat. But we've got to look at the positive. It is up. We're not actually flat. We're not sliding down. So up 0.6% between April to June this year. Now, that figure is probably going to be up for some sort of revision at some point, but that's the initial figure that we're getting at the moment. So we need to dig into that and find out what's been driving that growth, but it's certainly positive news.
I'm going in the right direction, isn't it? Now, at 16 minutes past 8, let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
Well, the World Health Organization has declared a new outbreak of Mpox as a global emergency. There have been 15,000 cases in the Democratic Republic of Congo this year, 500 deaths. The virus spreads through close contact, and it is normally pretty mild, but it can be fatal in some cases.
Scientists have discovered that the altar stone at the centre of Stonehenge was brought almost 500 miles from northern Scotland and not Wales, as previously thought. Researchers called the discovery genuinely shocking and are now looking to find out how and why the stone was transported all the way from northern Scotland.
And it's day one of Prince Harry and Meghan's tour of Colombia. They'll spend 4 days visiting notable leaders and women's rights activists in the South American country. It's being called a quasi-royal trip.
Now, let's have a look at the weather. Oh, sorry, what did you say?
No, it's fine, no. I was just going to make some comment about Colombia, but I'm not going to.
Oh, well, let's look at the weather instead, shall we, with Alex Teagan.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Something of a north-south split today. Lots of cloud across the north. Outbreaks of rain this morning, whereas much of the south staying dry until tonight. In fact, a much brighter day on the south coast compared to yesterday. But it's dull and damp for much of Scotland and Northern Ireland this morning. That rain is trickling into northwest England and North Wales and will continue to spread southwards towards the Midlands by the end of the afternoon. At the same time, it does start to clear from the far northwest. Yes, we'll see increasing cloud further south, but we should see some decent spells of sunshine, 25, 26 degrees. In this rainier zone, though, it's also going to be quite windy, particularly for North Wales, northwest England, southwest Scotland. By the time we get to this evening's rush hour, the rain should be pulling away from most of Scotland. Some sunny spells over the Highlands, but still 1 or 2 showers. Could still be quite grey on the east coast at this stage and potentially through the central belt, although the rain will be heading away by 5 or 6 o'clock. Should be clearing from Northern Ireland by then as well, so for many here a fine evening. Still quite blustery over Wales and northwest England with outbreaks of rain. It's just spreading down towards the southwest, whereas East Anglia in the southeast should stay dry well into the evening. It's not really until later on we start to see that rain spreading across East Anglia and then the southeast of England. 1 or 2 heavy bursts as it clears through. For many, it'll turn clearer and cooler, with temperatures down to single figures in rural parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Still quite warm and humid across East Anglia and the southeast. Any early rain should scoot away tomorrow morning, but there is the potential the warmth and humidity may linger across the southeast, which could give some afternoon showers. So looking at some showers across the northwest of Scotland. For many, tomorrow's a decent looking day. Dry and bright, a fresher feel as well, and temperatures.
Outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, would you like to get your hands on £30,000?
Yes, please.
There you go. It's tax-free as well. It's all part of our Great British giveaway. So if you want to get your hands on that cash, this is how you have the chance to do it.
Celebrate a spectacular summer with your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash in our Great British giveaway. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, and it's totally tax-free. What would you spend that on? Luxury holidays, a new car, or just put it away for a rainy day? Whatever you do with £30,000 in tax-free cash, make sure you don't miss out on the chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, best of luck indeed. And best of luck to all of those receiving their A-level results. We're doing that as we speak, and we're going to be speaking to one student who's just heard how he's done. That's next.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Joined now by the founder of Quintet London, Tanta Musulishvili, who channels her experience and fervour for fashion into her innovative brands which produce artworks on silk. You brought in some lovely things which we'll discuss in just a moment. Tell me a little bit about the complexity of printing an artist's idea onto silk. Is that a difficult thing to do?
It's actually very simple because we just simply ask our clients a set of questions to find out what they like, their experiences, their favorite objects or anything they desire. We create out of this information preliminary sketch, show it to clients until it's perfect. We change it according to their needs.
Are you saying that everything that you're doing here is personalised to a client? It's a commission from a client?
Every single piece is totally unique. We make each individual piece for the client taste. So every single piece is totally different. And what is nice, for example, we do like wedding favors, corporate gifts, investors' gifts, and every single time we would match the theme throughout to the actual company theme and so on.
Now here we have a series of little silk ties. Am I right to call them ties?
This one's actually called twillies. Twilly.
Yes. I didn't know the word twilly.
Yes.
These have a name. So this is the name of your client in this case. This one is Amanda, I think.
Exactly. So actually these are our signature design. So if you want to give someone something quickly, but just simply add their names, you can order from our website and you just simply need to insert their name and we can produce it on your favorite color combination. But then obviously our main product is totally unique pieces which are bespoke.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, as we keep saying, it's A-level results day. Thousands of teenagers getting their grades right now.
Well, we're joined now by one A-level student who's just found out that he's got onto his course. Ricardo Herrera-Smith, good to see you this morning, and congratulations. You have made it onto your course, haven't you? You are off to study politics, so massive congratulations to you. You don't yet know your exact results, though, do you? Tell us what's happened this morning.
No, so I got my... I got accepted, and I saw on Newcastle that I got accepted, but I still haven't received the results from the school, so I still don't know what I got, but I'm really happy that I got in anyway.
Yeah, well, it sort of doesn't matter now, does it?
No.
It's all about the getting to where you want to be. Had you thought about what you would do if you hadn't got the grades you needed?
Yeah, I would have gone into clearing. I would have tried to get a place through clearing, but thankfully I haven't had to go through that system, and I'm a lot less nervous than I was, because otherwise, it's really quite a first come, first served basis. So thankfully I got in, and now I can relax a little bit.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah. The pressure is off, Ricardo. So tell us about the A-levels that you took. What subjects did you take, and how do you find the prep? How do you find the exams?
I did Spanish, business and geography. So, I really enjoyed all the subjects. And it was just I found the the wait for results, I was quite anxious because it's about a 2-month wait. So you can never kind of relax in a way because you're just kind of anxious and waiting for the results. But I really enjoyed my 2 years doing my A-levels, and thankfully it's paid off and it's got me to where I want to go.
Yeah, so what are your plans then? I mean, I know Exeter, we know politics, but what about what you want to do with life? I mean, is this all part of a plan, or did you just fancy a politics degree?
No, I'd like to go into something like, I'm doing politics and international relations at Exeter, and I'd like to get into something like the diplomatic service or a charity, and do something like development and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I think it's quite a relevant subject for what I want to do. So hopefully it will help me in my career in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're looking forward to university and the university experience?
Of course. There's a big kind of social aspect of university. So I think I have to take advantage of that and just enjoy every moment, enjoy those 3 years.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, a lot of people say that it's their best 3 years of their life. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so you should. It'll be a great time and a great experience, and I hate to say it, Ricardo, it'll fly by.
It will.
You're in Madrid, so go and grab yourself a cerveza or two.
Yes.
And enjoy yourself. Really good to see you. Well done.
Very much.
Yes,
Thank
congratulations, Ricardo. Well done. Pressure's off.
Yeah, pressure's off. It's a lovely feeling when the pressure's off.
Yeah, and it is, he's right, it's an anxious wait, isn't it, for those results? You've got the whole long summer holidays, but it's not really a holiday when you're feeling that anxious and nervous about what's to come.
No. But it's about keeping it in perspective. It's very hard to do when your entire last couple of years has been pinned towards this sort of one moment. So you can understand why people get so uptight, but, you've got to just do as well as you can.
Yeah.
And then cope with what happens. That's part of the thing, isn't it? It's about coping.
Yeah, and there's lots of options available, isn't there? It's worth knowing.
Yeah, of course there is.
And there's clearing, and there's UCAS schemes, isn't there? Apprenticeship schemes. So lots of different options out there. University is not the only one. But if you are hoping to go to university and you've got the results and you're in, massive congratulations.
If there'd been a journalism apprenticeship that I could have gone on and been paid and then also sort of do a degree in the background, that would have been great.
But that's one of the things, isn't it? I think this would be a very practical job that you could learn on the job.
Yeah.
Don't think you necessarily need a degree for it.
But it's the way forward. Loads of things. It's like nurses now all need a degree and all that. And is it really necessary? And stuff like that. I mean, I think maybe we've gone a bit degree mad.
Yeah, maybe we have.
Going back to the old-fashioned ways might not be a bad thing.
Yeah. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say.
Right, still to come. We'll take you through all the sport with Paul Coyte in just a moment.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Cumbria, the A595 is closed each way off the A66 between the Bridgefoot roundabout and Lily-Hall after an accident. Sheffield Supertram services aren't running between Rotherham Parkgate, neither Meadowhall South or Tinsley because of a signalling problem. On the M62 in Cheshire, the outside lane's closed eastbound. Someone's broken down at junction 8 west of Warrington, causing delays. On the M6 in Staffordshire, the outside lane's closed southbound after an accident between junctions 11 and 10 from Cannock to the Walsall-Wolverhampton turn. Slope towards and past there. On the A1M in Cambridgeshire, there's a lane closed southbound at junction 17 at Peterborough after an accident causing queues. In Surrey, the A324 is closed on Lockfield Drive in Woking after an accident. And in Kent, the A28 is blocked in both directions by an accident on Ashford Road at Featherston, causing queues. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good afternoon, Britain. Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Time for the sport with Paul Coyte.
But before we do the sport,
Ruby.
She did good.
She did good.
She did very good.
The girl did good.
We're very proud, we're very happy and relieved.
Yeah.
Good.
She smashed it.
It didn't go like my O-levels, put it that way.
Oh, really?
Everything went very well.
Oh,
yeah.
Did you have disastrous O-levels?
Well, yeah. Well, actually,
I have to say, remember, you look at people like Richard Branson, for those who were panicking, people like Richard Branson who seem to fail everything. And all that sort of thing. And you still think it's not the be-all and end. It feels like it, but it's not, actually.
And there's so many successful people who don't have any qualifications or didn't do very well in exams,
But
at
the
least,
thing
and they're
is,
so successful.
We said all along, it's not, if things go wrong, you're young, it's not the end of the world. It's not like, I don't probably feel like that, but there's different roads that roads take, and you probably say if things hadn't gone one way, then you wouldn't have ended up here, or you could have got...
No,
it's a very strange life, and things happen for reasons some people believe.
Yes.
And I think there may be something.
I either wanted to be a doctor or a detective.
You'd be a very good detective.
Anything beginning with D.
Did you know...
Oh, here we go.
When I was looking, so I was about 16, 17, and I'm looking for... I knew what I wanted to do. I kind of want to work in the radio, and people always say, oh, no, you can't do that. And you know what, you probably know what it's all about. So I was looking through the Evening Standard, and I was looking for different jobs, and I had friends that went to work in a bank, and I'm thinking, now, what shall I do? And there was an advert for trainee private detective.
Really?
This is absolutely true. And I thought, oh, I like the sound of that. So I phoned up, and I know this doesn't sound like me, and I phoned up and just said, yeah, I'm really interested in the job of trainee private detective. And they said, have you got any experience? And I said, no, but I was very good at hide and seek when I was a kid. And it was the first thing that came out, and I still remember them going, don't waste our time and we won't waste yours. And then that was the end of it. That was the end of it.
I thought that was quite a good answer.
Ironside. But no, that was it.
And that was the end of that dream.
So there's my career tip.
There you
Think
go.
before you speak.
Right, let's talk about USA's new manager.
Yeah, it looks like Mauricio Pochettino. This is the word. It's not actually confirmed definitely that he is going to be the man. But Mauricio Pochettino went from Southampton to Spurs, and of course it's Spurs that he's been associated with and for so many years. Then was fired from that job, went to PSG, Paris Saint-Germain. That didn't work that great, and then from Paris Saint-Germain, then he's moved on from there and gone to Chelsea, and Chelsea. It started off not very well and then really started working for Mauricio towards the end of the season. And Chelsea seemed like they were doing something. And then in their wisdom, they decided that they could get along without him. I don't think he was terribly happy there. Whereas now he's heading over across the Atlantic to go to the USA. So is that, your guess is as good as mine on this. And you think, is this, we're talking about careers, for crying out loud, work still at the top level. Is this a good career progression, or is this good now to think, I've earned a lot of money, I can now go and enjoy myself?
He's going to make a lot of money in this.
He is, of course he's going to make a huge
so maybe money talks, maybe that's what it is.
Is it? And you get in football and, it's not about the money, it's all about winning,
rubbish.
It's all about the success.
Rubbish.
It's about it. Kind of good if they go along together.
Yeah.
He probably sees it as a challenge. But what a great thing to go and do, to go over, take the family over to the States.
Yeah, why not?
Give it a go. World Cup coming up there in a couple of years. So I think it's a pretty good move for Mauricio.
Good on him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we talk about Kylian Mbappe?
Yeah, arguably the finest player in the world, and arguably the second finest, who is with him as well, Jude Bellingham. So they're playing in the same side, and you just think, well,
they're unstoppable.
It's our ball, and if you want to come and give us a go, you don't stand our hope. It's Real Madrid. They played in what they call the UEFA Super Cup yesterday. Now the Super Cup, they'll call it, look at the trophy we've won, whether it's a real competitive trophy, but it's kind of like your European Community Shield, because then you get the winner of the Champions League will play the winner of the Europa League, and that was Atalanta. So Atalanta lost 2-0, and they played it in Poland. They'd probably come away from that thinking, you know what, that wasn't a bad result. We only lost 2-0 to Real Madrid. Yeah. So who's going to stop Real Madrid this season? I wonder. But Bellingham and Mbappe, and it worked together as well. And there's a few other fairly good players in there as well.
Can we have a look at some fashion?
You want to do a little fashion?
I want to do a little fashion.
Because when you look at me, you think fashion and sport, don't you? Fashion first, sport second. OK, we've got some more Premier League shirts.
Oh, who's this one?
Well, what do you think of that? It reminds me of that marble chocolate. You know, where you get the marbly design on it?
Yeah, to me it looks like, like a Milky Way.
Yeah, well, it's kind of Milky Way, but
it looks like a Milky Way to me.
Big bars of chocolate. They've got that kind of swirly, or it looks like a bathroom tile. That is Chelsea. That's the Chelsea home
Don't love
kit.
it.
How do you feel about it?
Don't love it.
Obviously, I do. I think that's really nice.
I need like that.
Because things are changing now. Fashion in football, they're now going to be more fashion items. That they make so much money by selling the shirts, and they cost a fortune as well. But that's the Chelsea home one. What about this one?
No.
What is going on there? Leicester away.
It's like tie-dye.
Tie-dyed, yeah.
It is a bit funny, isn't it? It looks like it's gone in the wash with something else at the bottom.
And a bit of bleach.
Yeah, it looks like it's got bleach stain.
So if you have it, you probably don't have to worry about putting it in it. Well, what colours are you going to put that in the wash with? Can you imagine if it runs?
Is it light? Is it dark?
It's usually the away kits that are more adventurous than ever.
Oh, I like this. That's more like it.
Brentford away.
Yeah, I really like that.
There was a day where
pink and burgundy.
Couldn't wear pink, but now, what do you think?
No,
love it.
I hate it.
Love it.
Don't like the
Absolutely
pink?
Love it.
Why?
Just don't.
He doesn't like pink.
Is it because that's not football, or
no,
it's
not
just
that.
generally?
I just generally don't like
colour.
it.
Okay.
I wouldn't have put pink and burgundy together.
It looks like Inter Miami's kit.
It does. It does look like Inter Miami's kit.
And I think pink really pops on the pitch.
Oh,
you know what?
Pink really pops on the pitch.
It's funny because I think pink picks on the Peter Pepper as well.
Pink pops on the pitch.
No, but I like the Chelsea. Like the new
you like the Chelsea.
Yeah, and I'll go with whatever the pink one was. Brentford.
Spurs got a lovely one, by the way. We didn't have time for that.
Shame.
Now, can we talk muscles? Because people often come up to me and want to squeeze my muscles.
Yeah, does that happen to you a lot?
A lot.
Yeah. Adama Traore, he's a big fella. He's very well pumped. So often people would want to go up to him and give the muscles a squeeze, but quite frankly, it's just not the done thing.
It's not really.
But, a young ball boy decided that he would take it upon himself. There we are, look. Can I squeeze it? Go on then, have a go.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, how about that? Look at that, he can't believe it. He cannot believe it. It was like concrete. Let's have a squeeze of your muscles.
Oh, God, I think that's quite sweet.
That's nice.
There we go.
There's nothing wrong with showing off a bit like that.
Absolutely.
If you're built like a brick outhouse...
Yes, exactly.
Then why not?
See, the thing is, even as he did, I don't think he even flexed. That was him. No. That was him flaccid as he squeezed his arm.
Well, there you go.
Well done.
Thank you, Paul Coy.
Thank you
and
very
well
much.
done, Ruby.
Well done, Ruby.
We're very proud of you.
Right, we're going to take you through the papers with Charlie Rowley and Susan Holder in a couple of minutes.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
EasyJet is launching a new recruitment drive focused on attracting cabin crew members over 50 and those even considering retirement.
Well, the initiative is called Returnships and is inspired by research that suggests that 75% of people over 50 years old believe that now is the ideal time to embark on a new career.
Joining us now to discuss what it takes to embark on a second career as cabin crew is Helen Williams. Good morning, Helen.
Hi, good morning, Helen.
Welcome. Just touching down in our studio.
It is. I've had a few days off and now I'm here.
So you are now cabin crew.
I am.
What inspired you to get into it? What did you do before? How did it all come around?
Oh, so when I graduated, I took an office job with my grad scheme, and that job lasted 6 months, and I started working for a European carrier. I did just over 5 years at that European carrier and had an absolutely fabulous time. I then went on to a wet lease operation with an Irish carrier and another mainline UK carrier. I then decided to have time out. I had a business, I had a family, I had children, and last autumn I decided, why not? Let's go back and do it all again. So returning to that European carrier that I'd worked at when I was in my early 20s.
And what is that like for you now, returning that bit older, having that life experience, having your children? Do you think that's been a benefit to you?
It's absolutely been a benefit. I mean, the amount of parents that thank me for helping me with their small children when they're crying on a flight. I am that person now.
When you went back for a second time, did you notice more sort of older people amongst your sort of colleagues?
I did. So when I returned onto my initial course in March of this year, just over half the course were over the age of 30.
Wow.
Which was absolutely phenomenal. And I was expecting to return and be with a lot of younger, 18, 19, 24. I was expecting to be that dinosaur. And that first day of training, to find out that I wasn't the dinosaur, you have no idea how exciting that was. And they've gone on, that particular group, to be phenomenal crew members.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
she could have saved Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
All right, let's see what's in the papers this morning with the author and journalist Susan Holder and former special advisor to Michael Gove, Charlie Rowley. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
Charlie, can we just have... Yeah, because we've got ages this time, which is great. Can we have a look at The Guardian and look at what's going on in Ukraine and Russia?
Yes, so interesting developments. This is now entering the second week where Ukraine have stepped up their response to clearly the ongoing war that we've had to listen and read about tragically over the last couple of years now.
But years, can't believe it.
And it's extraordinary that, where many people would have written Ukraine off, actually, in the way in which Russia treated and annexed parts of Crimea, how it attacked Georgia also, which, just by the way, adds to the necessity to continue to fund Ukraine from America and also to give them whatever they need in order to bring this conflict to an end. But they seem to, in the last couple of weeks, have targeted Russian sites and made their own incursion into Russian territory. And so the fight back continues. Now, how long this can hold, how long it can last for, the Russians do appear to be in a slight retreat. But again, what have they got in their arsenal that we're not sure about? I always think we overestimate Russia's ability. I'm not a defence expert, but I always think that, their parades that you see every year in terms of, and the artillery that they display. There was an attempted coup, you'll remember, a year ago, so, which was that came close. So they're not as, I think, what they would have the rest of the world perceive them to be. But this is good news for Ukraine, and let's hope it continues.
But what Russia lack in quality, they have in quantity.
Well, they
This is
do,
the
although
issue.
they have also used a lot of their young men as cannon fodder, haven't they? Which is not, almost literally. Do you think it brings into question how much support people have for Ukraine if they think that they're going more on the offensive rather than being defensive? I'm not having an opinion on that. I'm just asking the question. Do you think that would affect public kind of support for how much we support Ukraine if they think Ukraine are actually going into a more offensive strategy? I just wonder about that.
Them?
No, I don't. I personally don't blame them, but I do think you're poking the beast, literally, aren't you? In that way. Obviously, I know they've been put in that position; they have to. But I do wonder whether people kind of get nervous about our involvement when they see it tipping into that. But that is the way. Maybe it has to go.
Yeah, well, you've got plans to occupy Russian territory, that the objective is just to prevent Russian missile fire into Ukraine. That's what they would say. I think it's really interesting. Inside Russia, they were told this was a special operation into Ukraine that would only last a couple of days. And then they've lost all of these young fighting men from their country. And now they've got Ukraine actually in their territory, moving deeper into Russia.
Like any situation now, it's fought more on propaganda than it is in any other way, isn't it? And the propaganda that they get told in Russia is not what the rest of the world gets told.
Exactly, and the inscription of men in Russia and the morale, which is at constant lows. You're right. It might be about the quality of the weapons and finance that people can provide to Ukraine over a depleted and low morale Russia.
Susan, in the Daily Telegraph, career criminals.
Yes, rather, I'm quite weary about this, really, because nobody wants to know about it, but we have to talk about it, that 50% of crime, did you realise, is only committed by 10% of offenders. And those people are often, despite the fact they've had hundreds of convictions, and you would think, the sentences must get longer and longer, but statistically that isn't what it shows. Statistically, they can kind of get more and more of a slap on the wrist rather than a lengthy jail term.
How does that work?
How does that? I don't know how that works. I suppose you could argue the jail term is not doing that career criminal any kind of value. So maybe a community service order or something else is at least the society's getting them back. But what it does do is take the 10% that commit 50% of the crime off the street. So it's better for all of us, I would argue. It might not be better for criminals who, by being sent to prison, just link up with other criminals and develop more plots and plans, and it doesn't do, it doesn't correct their trajectory. But what it does do is remove them. And that is something that I think the rest of us would quite like.
Well, look, if they keep doing it, I think it's a perfectly valid argument. If they keep doing it, then they clearly need to be removed.
I would say so. I would say so. But yeah, this is the front page of the Daily Telegraph. So Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, has said that the soft approach she feels as well has led to too many people to feel that crime has no consequences, and that is a fear, isn't it? That if you know about it and you're in that world and you see that happening, what is the deterrent?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to say about sort of prisons, and obviously the Labour government came in and had to release, they claimed, a number of prisoners because there was overcrowding. They're now going to have to find other ways because they're banging up an awful lot of those rioters by the looks of things. That's the criminal justice system working at a breakneck speed, rightly so. But there's a statistic that sort of says, that 50% of crime committed by just 10% of people. And that is true because it's a revolving door. It's the same people that constantly feel and probably fall foul of the criminal justice system who need maybe more attention in terms of more rehabilitation or longer sentences. If it's going to be a punishment, then it needs to be a punishment. Or do we need... But we're talking about the same people constantly. These are the same people in our communities who we want to help and want to get rid of. But if they need to be in prison for longer, or if there needs to be prison rethinking about how prison works to make it work, then that's something that's a conversation.
Yeah, you've got to look at individual. I mean, there will be amongst that people who keep reoffending because they don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Or they don't know how to support themselves. That will be an element of it. But as you quite rightly say, there will be an awful lot of people who say, I'll get away with it. I'm only going to get a slap on the wrist.
And also, there's some very clever people who do this kind of thing, and you think, if only they could put their powers to use their powers for good, wouldn't the world be a better place?
Yeah, absolutely.
Charlie, let's talk about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, shall we, who are in Colombia.
Yes, and controversy never far behind wherever they go these days. This is a controversial visit, I think. They're, according to the Mail Online, they're about to step foot in Colombia within a matter of hours. They might already be there. I don't know. I wouldn't be watching. But just another situation that the royals seem to be trying to... the former royals, sorry.
Yeah, the unroyals.
The unroyals are trying to build up their own... there are some pictures there. Trying to, again, sort of take the limelight by not really having a cause or a purpose, it seems to me, of why they're there, what are they doing, what are they going to achieve.
Is it just a royal visit as such, as it were? Well, quasi-royal, we've been saying. But...
Exactly, but this is a visit that would have no planning or preparation with the Foreign Office, who might have problems, actually, with, you know, some of the situation and leaderships or the regions in Colombia. We just don't know enough about it. But the very fact that they've just taken it upon themselves to hop on a plane, to head there, to cause more headlines or to generate more headlines, you know, for their own self-worth and self-gain, when actually you can now have a situation, if there is something wrong in Colombia, Colombia can say, well, hang on, if the Western world has a problem with it, you know, we've just had 2 former royals. You know, it is something that will be a headache for the Foreign Office if this hasn't gone through the proper
But they say they're pushing
planning.
women's rights and all that sort of thing.
Well,
in what way?
I don't know.
I don't feel, as a woman, that they're pushing my rights by going on a visit to Colombia and kind of, you know, glad-handing and watching traditional dancing or unveiling a statue or whatever it is that they think is work. Because that isn't for them work, because they've rejected that kind of work where they could have put that to good use. They had a huge opportunity to do that in this country and on behalf of our king and for this country, and they chose not to do that. So don't really understand why they think this is work. And also in a country that is one of the most insecure and dangerous places, where the president and vice president have said that they have to take helicopters to work because there's no other way to kind of get in and out. So all the green credentials also are in question about the whole situation.
If they were really worried about women's rights and things like that, I'd like to see them in the Middle East. You know, which
I thought they wouldn't be invited there, though.
They were after abandoning the UK, after isolating themselves in the US, they've clearly gone south of the border to South America to try and gain some support. I think when people get bored of them there, as they have done here in the United States of America, they might have no other audience but to go to the Middle East. So we'll have to wait and see.
We all need to chill out, Susan.
Do we?
And have an ice cream.
And have an ice cream.
Have an ice cream.
And if you're dairy intolerant, there's a new way being looked at. I know a lot of people kind of are dairy intolerant. I'm OK with the milk, the ordinary cow's milk. But a lot of people are looking for alternatives all the time. And there's a new one now. Would you fancy a ice cream made of horse milk?
No.
No, nobody would.
Would you?
But apparently, just bear with me, it's being researched in Poland, where the food scientists have found how you milk a horse is another question, but let's not go there. But it apparently is very good in phospholipids, that's the word, which can tackle stomach complaints and contains certain fatty acids that ease breathing problems, and it also boosts the immune system. So it could be quite good for you.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there was a taste test done.
Oh, right.
And guess what the taste test found? It tasted of horsey muskiness.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, but that's not what I'm looking for in an ice cream.
No.
Apparently it really lingered as well.
That again, just the phrase, the horsey muskiness really lingered. It wouldn't work on the strapline selling it, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
No.
I have to say, I don't know why, but why is it that... Cow's milk, you sort of think, oh, fine.
Because it's true. No, you're right there, because we are used to it. And I mean, who would have thought that we would have kind of a lot of things that we would have? But yeah, I don't know. That's not what you want from your
Maybe you
ice
should just
cream.
make cheese out of it. Have horse cheese.
Like goat's cheese. You'd think that was weird, and it's not. I love a bit of goat's cheese.
I like goat's
maybe
cheese,
we
but
all
I couldn't
need
drink goat's milk.
No, I know one of my friends does though, and she absolutely loves it. But this is Britain's only horse dairy. There is one in this country, and he's it's £6.50 for 250 ml of horse milk.
Oh, there you go.
And he says, of course he would, it's the best milk that money can buy.
Well, he would say that. He would say that because
That
he owns
doesn't
a
make
horse
good ice cream.
I think I'll give it a miss.
Yeah, all right.
I'm very careful what I put in my mouth.
Thank you very much indeed. Here's the weather.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Something of a north-south split today. Lots of cloud across the north, outbreaks of rain this morning, whereas much of the south staying dry until tonight. In fact, a much brighter day on the south coast compared to yesterday, but it's dull and damp for much of Scotland and Northern Ireland this morning. That rain is trickling into northwest England and North Wales and will continue to spread southwards towards the Midlands by the end of the afternoon. At the same time, it does start to clear from the far northwest. Yes, we'll see increasing cloud further south, but we should see some decent spells of sunshine, 25, 26 degrees. In this rainier zone, though, it's also going to be quite windy, particularly for North Wales, northwest England, southwest Scotland. By the time we get to this evening's rush hour, the rain should be pulling away from most of Scotland. Some sunny spells over the Highlands, but still one or two showers. Could still be quite grey on the east coast at this stage and potentially through the central belt, although the rain will be heading away by 5 or 6 o'clock. Should be clearing from Northern Ireland by then as well, so for many here a fine evening. Still quite blustery over Wales and northwest England with outbreaks of rain. It's just spreading down towards the southwest, whereas East Anglia and the southeast should stay dry well into the evening. It's not really until later on we start to see that rain spreading across East Anglia and then the southeast of England. One or two heavy bursts as it clears through. For many, it'll turn clearer and cooler, with temperatures down to single figures in rural parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Still quite warm and humid across East Anglia and the southeast. Any early rain should scoot away tomorrow morning, but there is the potential the warmth and humidity may linger across the southeast, which could give some afternoon showers. Certainly looking at some showers across the northwest of Scotland. For many, tomorrow's a decent looking day. Dry and bright. A fresher feel as well, and temperatures close to the average for the time of year. Generally high teens across the north, low to mid-20s further south.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Cumbria, the A595 is closed each way off the A66 between Bridgefoot and Lilyhall after an accident. On the M62 in Cheshire, the outside lane's closed eastbound, but someone's broken down at junction 8 west of Warrington, with delays from junction 7 at Rainhill Stoops. On the M6 in Staffordshire, the outside lane's closed southbound after an accident between junctions 11 and 10 from Cannock to the Walsall and Wolverhampton turn. It's slow towards and past there. On the M6 in Warwickshire, the northbound entry slip road's partly blocked by an accident at junction 3 near Coventry. On the A1M in Cambridgeshire, there's a lane closed southbound after an accident at junction 17 at Peterborough causing queues. On the M4 from Wales into England, there are delays approaching the Prince of Wales Bridge after an accident earlier. In Surrey, the A324 is closed along Lockfield Drive in Woking after an accident, and Penzance helicopter flights to and from the Isles of Scilly are on hold because of poor visibility. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
You really could become the next giveaway winner with your chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Listen to what some of our previous winners have to say about winning big with us.
Hi, my name's Victoria. I won the Spring Great British giveaway. So the day we got the money in our bank account, everything just felt just a lot nicer. We went out for dinner, just enter. And you never expect to win, but I did.
Get your entry in now. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either. This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. A-level results are in.
A surprise as more students received top marks than last year. That's despite warnings that grades would come down to pre-pandemic levels.
It's a good day to be a train driver. The government gives in to a 15% pay rise to end the strikes. The average driver's salary will be £70,000.
And it's not just train drivers who are in luck. Labour agreed to £13.5 million worth of funding for Tata Steel.
Also today, Ukraine defy the odds and claim more territory in Russia as the MOD confirms the use of British weapons in the operation.
Some good news this morning. The economy grew by 0.6% between April to June of this year.
And Swifty fever sweeps London again as thousands prepare for Taylor to take to Wembley tonight.
And reports circle that the Princess of Wales could return to frontline royal duties as soon as the autumn, after opening up earlier this year about her cancer battle.
A brighter day across parts of the south compared to yesterday, but further north it is going to be at times pretty dull, pretty damp, and in places fairly windy. Join me later for a full forecast.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Just a word about horse milk this morning.
I'm fascinated by it.
That's the thing. Claire's been in touch. May have a valid point. She says, I think cow milk tastes strange until it's pasteurised. Maybe it's the same for horse milk.
Yeah. The taste test in The Guardian, it doesn't sound very good. It's a horsey muskiness that seems quirky at first, but didn't linger well, and then says it couldn't get the taste of horse out of his mouth.
What does horse taste like?
Well, it's a horsey muskiness, apparently. I mean, I wouldn't like to try it. But then apparently it also tastes really sweet. It's very sugary, apparently.
Oh.
The sweetness is cloying.
Cloying?
Yeah, and a bit frosty, like the dregs of a tub that's been left in the freezer for too long.
Oh, it's not doing him any favours, this horse milk dairy farmer.
Well, this dairy farmer, Frank Shellard, he says that it's the milk that's amazing. He's not one for ice cream. He says it's the milk that tastes really good.
Well...
There you go.
Why not?
Apparently it's got lots of health benefits. Very good for you.
Nothing wrong with it. I mean,
It's a Polish recipe. A number of benefits, including half the fat of cow's milk. That's quite good, isn't it? Help tackle stomach complaints and fatty acids that ease breathing problems. There you go.
We have to try if you've got these sort of things. Take it as a medicine. Take a shot a day or something.
Yeah. Very expensive, though.
It is expensive.
£6.50 for 250 ml of horse milk. Would you try it?
It's not even a pint, is it?
No, it's tiny. £2.50 is like a glass.
Oh.
Very expensive.
No, there you go.
Let us know what you think. Would you try horse milk? Maybe not horse ice cream. That hasn't gone down very well, has it, in the taste test? But horse milk, GB News. No, gbnews.com/you'll say yes.
I'd try a glass of it. We should get some in. Shouldn't we? I'd like to try it now, just for that. Yeah. Maybe not for her.
All right.
Thanks. Right, now, there is a bit of a shock in A-level results this morning, which obviously thousands of people are getting their results. More students have got the top marks than last year, and that is despite warnings that the grades would actually be falling to pre-pandemic levels.
Well, one person who's been in the midst of the action this morning is GB News reporter Will Hollis. Very good morning to you, Will. I can imagine, based on that you're going to be with lots of very happy people this morning.
Good morning. Yes, there's excitement here in the courtyard at Lichfield Cathedral School, and of all the students that I've spoken to so far, nobody is having a bad day, and I think that includes Charlotte and Hugo here. Charlotte, just describe for me, how have you done and where are you going next?
Better than I expected, definitely. Quite happy with my grades. So I declined my offers recently because I'm looking to change courses, so I'm about to go through clearing in a second.
You're about to make those phone calls. What are you hoping to find from clearing?
Basically just a university that does physiotherapy that's looking to take me. I'm hoping for Liverpool, but we'll see how it goes.
How were you feeling going up to today? Was it a sleepless night?
Last night, definitely. I think I mean, now it's over, definitely a relief, but it's been intense the last few days, I'd say.
But the next challenge is clearing, and there's universities across the country that are starting to take confirmations and acceptance offers from students like you. What's this feeling like now, knowing you've got to go through clearing and make those phone calls, but you're giving time up to do a TV interview?
It's different, I'd say. I'm quite reassured with my grades though, so I think definitely less stressed than I was probably an hour ago.
Brilliant, well done. And your fantastic friend Hugo. Hugo, how have you done today, and what's the next step?
I've got exactly what I expected, but I actually did quite well, so I'm really happy. And I'm going to study nuclear engineering at Lancaster, hopefully.
And you deserve to be smiling. What's this feeling like right now for people sitting at home in their living rooms?
I actually don't know. I'm so excited. I'm finally getting out of school to go and do whatever I want. And yeah, everything's changing. I don't know quite what to feel yet.
What was this period like? Because you two were in year 9 and 10 during COVID when we had all those problems. Now on the other side of it, 4 years later, what was school like for young people like you?
I actually did my GCSEs in COVID because I had to resit a year because of complications due to it. But it was really difficult, I'd say. A lot of the time I didn't learn what I needed, and I came into A-levels without knowing the basics that normally you would build upon. But I'd say for your year it was a bit better, but not much more so.
And you still did so very well despite all that stress. What are you feeling like right now, knowing that you can say goodbye to school, you might say goodbye to a few friends, but your life is ahead of you?
Obviously excited, gonna miss school because I've been here so long, but yeah, it'd be good, I think. It's exciting, definitely.
Yeah. It felt like it was never going to end. What are you going to miss about school or your A-levels here at Lichfield Cathedral School?
I think it's been a good few years for me. Very supportive school, good group of friends and everything. So I think just that and like the community, but yeah, it'd be good.
Thank you so much. I know that you've got your results out here in front of you. Congratulations, and thanks for giving up the time this morning when you reasonably should be hugging all of your friends, Hugo and Charlotte, but you can see in the background lots of excited students and very nervous students still coming here to open their envelopes, unsure of where their future might take them.
OK, Will, thanks very much indeed. I'm quite impressed with Hugo doing nuclear engineering at Lancaster.
Yeah.
That sounds...
useful.
Well, it sounds really interesting, actually. It's the sort of thing that piques my interest.
Yeah, you'd be interested in
I
that.
wouldn't be clever enough to do that, but it
so annoying.
sounds really interesting, doesn't it?
Well, congratulations to the two of them.
Yeah, well done to them. Let's head to Coventry University. Our West Midlands reporter, Jack Carson, is there for us. Morning, Jack.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, good morning to you. We've just dipped out of the clearing call centre. To say the phones are ringing off the hook is an understatement. Lots of people calling in this morning. Of course, you heard there from Will and the lady she was chatting to that's going to call clearing. They'd already maybe guaranteed a place for themselves somewhere, but people change their minds. People have differences on where maybe they want to go, what they want to do. Certainly when they open their A-levels, it's not just the case with clearing that you open your A-level results and you're disappointed, so you've got to call up clearing. Lots of people maybe have a change of heart, have a change of mind, of course, and that's where those people are on the phone lines ready to take them. Let's dig into the stats a little bit that you were mentioning earlier on about A-level results. 82% of students getting into their first choice university. That is up on last year, and interestingly a record number of disadvantaged students gaining a university spot. UCAS says that 27,600 18-year-olds from the most disadvantaged backgrounds across the UK have accepted a place. That's up 7% from last year and marks a 4% increase from the record that we got back in 2021. Now, this is the second year technically that A-level results have been out of the pandemic period. Results still remaining on par, if not higher than those on pre-pandemic levels. So we're speaking to Ian Dunn, the provost here at Coventry University, talking about how things maybe don't necessarily fluctuate because of the population, but also, of course, getting those tips from him on clearing as well. And lots of people will be taking that option for themselves. This morning, we saw a record second highest number of people applying for university places, over 320,000 people. That's the second highest on record. So still clearly this morning, as people call up maybe clearing once they've got their A-level results, that the university is still very much a popular option for them. But as I was saying, a record number, 82% of people gaining a first place, first choice at their university today. So a lot of happy smiles across the country this morning on A-level results day.
All right, Jack, thank you very much indeed. Those phone lines are going to be busy today. We're clearing.
Yes, they are. Oh, I tell you what. This is interesting. I don't normally look at my tweets.
X now. Your X's.
Or whatever it is, anyway.
Yep.
Robbie's been in touch. Morning, Robbie. Because we've been talking about money for train drivers. Right. So he says, stop being dismissive of train drivers. They should be on a par with airline pilots. It's a difficult job with so much technical and safety awareness needed, not just a case of pressing a button. As a pensioner, though, I seem to be paying towards my son, who's a driver, his pay.
Yeah. And how do you feel about that, Robbie?
No, but
that's what a lot of people are saying today.
I think it's a valid point.
Yeah.
It makes a really valid point that we do sort of go, 70 grand, isn't that an awful lot of money for... And you sort of think they don't do a lot, in a way. And as he says, so we make assumptions, don't we?
No,
so, Robbie, you're quite right to point that out.
It's a valid point. Thank you very much. And what we have noticed in the 18 days of strikes or so across 2 years is we do need them, don't we? Especially especially in the southeast, where there's lots of commuters heading into London. I mean, it all grinds to a halt, quite literally, when the train drivers aren't at work. They do a vital job.
Right, authorities in the Kursk region of Russia have had 200,000 people removed from the area following continued Ukraine advances in the Glushkov district.
Well, earlier on, we spoke to former Armed Forces Minister James Heapy.
Yeah, that was exactly the words that I was going to use in response to where I thought your question would end. It is wishful thinking, I'm afraid. It is good in that it proves that Ukraine is perfectly capable of getting on the offensive. It shows just how attritional the battle on the long-standing front line now is, where they're just in this constant grind. Whichever side is on the offensive is running up against very well-prepared defences. At the moment, Russia is moving forward, but very, very slowly and at enormous cost to its army. Where the defences are less well-prepared, Ukraine has shown that it can break through and gain some pretty quick success. The West should use this as a siren call to keep backing Ukraine because they're showing us that what they're capable of. But I'm afraid that it means nothing in terms of accelerating towards the end of the war.
You can imagine it will be good for morale, though, inside Ukraine, especially seeing Russian prisoners of war, for example.
Hugely so. In sport as much as in war, nobody revels in defence.
That's James Heapy speaking to us a little bit earlier on in the programme.
Now, we are heading to the last few weeks of our £30,000 Great British Giveaway.
Yes, there's still plenty of time to get your entry in. So have a think, what would you do with all of that extra cash? Here's how you could be in with a chance to win it.
Celebrate a spectacular summer with your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash in our Great British Giveaway. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, and it's totally tax-free. What would you spend that on? Luxury holidays, a new car, or just put it away for a rainy day? Whatever you do with £30,000 in tax-free cash, make sure you don't miss out on a chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2 or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Still to come, rumours the Princess of Wales might be coming back to full-time royal duties as soon as the autumn. We'll tell you more in a minute.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, to enrich us on the best cheeses and wine to buy, I'm delighted to be joined by the CEO of Inflorescence, Jacinta Madison Wilson. Jacinta, thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
Also, thank you so much for bringing what is
what a Sunday you're having.
of wonderful... What do we have before us?
So, we've got 3 gorgeous wines to try today. We've got an English sparkling, we've got a beautiful rosé and a dessert wine, and, of course, cheese.
Wonderful.
And paired them all beautifully.
Now, English sparkling wine has had a bit of a renaissance.
Oh, it's incredible, isn't it?
To use a French word to describe English sparkling wine. It's having a bit of a moment in the sun.
Absolutely. I just think it's so exciting that this is right on our doorstep, essentially, an hour out of London, and we're around beautiful vineyards.
The chalk sort of sediment is exactly the same as the Champagne region of France.
Yeah, our soils are really similar. We use the same grape varieties a lot of the time. We make it in exactly the same way as Champagne. Our climate is like Champagne was 40 to 50 years ago. So we're really kind of drinking it blind. You almost wouldn't know that you're not drinking champagne. But it's right here on our doorstep. We can stay local now.
Absolutely marvellous. Well, we've got... what is the best order to start?
OK, well, we're going to start with sparkling, because all things in life should start with sparkling. I got married a month ago, and this was actually the... Thank you so much. This was the wine I chose to have as our first wine that we served the guests. This is from a winery called Bluebell, which is in Sussex, and I've chosen to pair this with a lovely... kind of the English version of Camembert, which is called Tunworth. It's a very classic pairing of Champagne and Brie. So we're kind of going to do the English version of that now.
Classic.
Absolutely. Are you ready to get stuck in?
I am so...
OK.
Hang on. Is it cheese first or wine first?
I'd have a little sip of the wine first.
Sip of the wine, bite
have a little bite of the cheese and then some more wine. Get it all mixed up in there.
It's like a cheese sandwich.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, here
Cheers.
we go. Cheers.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have saved Storm.
you made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, some good news if you're a royal fan. Reports are saying the Princess of Wales could be back on frontline duties as soon as the autumn.
Well, it says Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are off to Colombia. The pair are spending time visiting notable leaders and women's rights activists in the South American country.
Right, let's talk to royal expert and biographer Ingrid Stewart, who joins us now. Really good to see you this morning, Ingrid. Let's talk about Catherine, should we? The Princess of Wales could be back to full duties by the autumn. This would be wonderful news.
Well, I actually don't think she is going to be back to full-time duties by the autumn. I think that's how I read it. But in fact, I think what they were saying, this is a report by the Daily Mail's royal editor, Rebecca English, is that Catherine is still recovering and she's still having treatment, but she doubts whether she'll be back to full-time duties, but we will be seeing her. So we will be, seeing her at big royal events, and she'll, if she's up to it, she will, appear now and then, but most of her work will be done from home because she's still having the cancer treatment. And as she said way back in the summer, she has good days and she has bad days.
Yeah, and we can all understand that, can't we? But it does make such a difference, doesn't it, to catch glimpses of her and seeing her and William this week congratulating the GB athletes after the success at the Olympics. It really does make all the difference just to see her, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And I think, she wants to get out there, but I don't think she's going to be back at the daily chore of royal duties, visiting hospitals, things like that. I don't think she'd be strong enough to do that. But, I mean, she looks terrific. We know she's had a brutal year, in fact, probably much, much worse than any of us can imagine. And so she's, doing what her doctors are telling her. She's taking it very gently. I'm sure she wants to go full steam ahead, but she is being restrained, as it were.
Well, yeah, quite right too, quite right too. I've got to ask you, Ingrid, because you're a no-nonsense lady, if you don't mind me saying. What do you make of the stubble?
Well, I think he looks rather good with the stubble. I am not a fan of beards, but he's young, and I think he looks pretty good with it. I mean, he doesn't have much hair on his head, so he might as well have a bit of hair on his chin. So it deflects his lack of hair on his head. And also, William is incredibly tall. So if you're standing near him, you do not notice that he's thinning on top. So I think I think the beard is a huge success.
Well, he's as well to do it now while it's still got colour. No, because if I grew a beard, that'd be white.
Would it?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Terrifying, scary.
Well, it certainly did divide people. Something else that divides people is the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They're on the first day of their 4-day visit to Colombia. What do you make of it, Ingrid?
Well, I think it is... Actually, I really do think it is done with good intentions. The vice president of Colombia is someone called Franca Marquez, and she is the first Afro-Colombian to be in a governmental position. And she invited them because she wanted to bring attention to equality, racism, gender issues, all the things that the Sussexes claim to be, interested in promoting. So it made sense. And also, of course, it's hugely beneficial for bringing attention to what's going on in Colombia. People just think of Colombia as a country of drug cartels and rioting and rebel sort of villains. But I mean, it has that too, but it is the most beautiful, beautiful country. And I think it was very clever of Franca to invite the Sussexes. Of course, they're being used to promote the country. But in a way, it's probably symbiotic. They're probably getting a bit of use out of it as well. So I think it's probably quite a good thing. It's not a royal door. It's nothing to do with royalty. And this is rather sadly what the Queen hoped they might do for her in the Commonwealth, but was not to be. So it's up to them. I think, let them, they'll be surrounded with security.
Well, they will. Yeah, they certainly will. Ingrid, really good to see you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Britain's Newsroom is coming up at 9:30. Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner are here to tell us all about it. Morning, you two.
Morning. Good morning. Isn't it nice to not be waiting for your own A-level exam results this morning? I can kind of remember the feeling, even though it was a long time ago. So we want people to let us know the results this morning and how you're feeling about it.
Yeah, and if they're not getting the grades they want, any questions they might have, because we've got people at the clearinghouses. And we're also talking to the Further Education Minister, Jackie Smith, Baroness Smith, who's a new appointment for the government.
Yeah, of course she is. Yeah, well, that'll be interesting. I mean, it's fascinating how all that is working out, and the fact that the grades are better this year, despite the fact the marking has gone back to stricter levels.
Yeah. But you see, it's interesting because I've got 3 teenagers in my house, and honestly, university is no longer the appeal that it was a few years ago. It's quite interesting what's happened. I think so many teenagers feel they don't want to start life as an adult with a huge amount of debt, and therefore it's affecting the choices that they make. And I think that's sad, because I think university can be. It can be the best years of your life because it's not just about you studying, it's about growing up, it's about moving out, budgeting for yourself, all that sort of stuff. So I'm not forcing mine to go to university.
No.
I would very much like them to, whereas my mum definitely forced me. It wasn't an option, you know. You're going.
Right.
So things have changed.
Yeah, I never went, and it didn't hold me back, but it would now.
It would now.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
If you hadn't gone, you think it held you back.
Oh, sure, now.
I don't know. You see, I just think there's a lot of different routes into the workplace. Anyway, we're going to be discussing that. Taylor Swift is in town. We're going to be looking at implications of what that might be.
Lovely
and lots
stuff.
More.
Yes, as always. Thank you both very much indeed.
Lots to look forward to. We are back tomorrow, aren't we, from 6 o'clock?
We are, but here's the weather.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Something of a north-south split today. Lots of cloud across the north, outbreaks of rain this morning, whereas much of the south staying dry until tonight. In fact, a much brighter day on the south coast compared to yesterday. But it's dull and damp for much of Scotland and Northern Ireland this morning. That rain is trickling into northwest England and North Wales and will continue to spread southwards towards the Midlands by the end of the afternoon. At the same time, it does start to clear from the far northwest. Yes, we'll see increasing cloud further south, but we should see some decent spells of sunshine, 25, 26 degrees. In this rainier zone, though, it's also going to be quite windy, particularly for North Wales, northwest England, southwest Scotland. By the time we get to this evening's rush hour, the rain should be pulling away from most of Scotland. Some sunny spells over the Highlands, but still 1 or 2 showers. Could still be quite grey on the east coast at this stage and potentially through the central belt, although the rain will be heading away by 5 or 6 o'clock. Should be clearing from Northern Ireland by then as well, so for many here a fine evening. Still quite blustery over Wales and northwest England with outbreaks of rain. It's just spreading down towards the southwest, whereas East Anglia in the southeast should stay dry. Well into the evening. It's not really until later on we start to see that rain spreading across East Anglia and then the southeast of England. 1 or 2 heavy bursts as it clears through. For many, it'll turn clearer and cooler, with temperatures down to single figures in rural parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Still quite warm and humid across East Anglia and the southeast. Any early rain should scoot away tomorrow morning, but there is the potential the warmth and humidity may linger across the southeast, which could give some afternoon showers. So looking at some showers across the northwest of Scotland. For many, tomorrow's a decent looking day. Dry and bright. A fresher feel as well, and temperatures close to the average for the time of year. Generally high teens across the north, low to mid-20s further south.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M18 Glasgow, the inside lane's closed eastbound where a bus has broken down on Kingston Bridge between junctions 20 and 19 from the M74 to Anderston Cross. There are queues from junction 22 for the M77. On the M66 in Greater Manchester, 2 lanes are closed northbound after an accident between junctions 3 and 2 from Holland to Bury, causing delays from Sinister Island. On the M6 in Warwickshire, the inside lane's closed southbound where someone's broken down between junctions 3 and 2 from Coventry to the M69, causing delays. In Surrey, the A324 is closed each way along Lockfield Drive off Victoria Way in Woking after an accident. The M26 in Kent is taking 10 minutes in westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks, and Skybus and Penzance helicopter flights to and from the Isles of Scilly are on hold because of poor visibility.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday from 8 p.m.
The court on Wednesday ruled that a teenager was wrongly ignored before being forced into end-of-life care. Sudiksha Thirumalesh, who was 19, died last year after being prevented from travelling abroad for treatment after doctors said her condition was incurable. Doctors said Ms. Thirumalesh's objection to their decision was unreasonable and that she should have all life-sustaining treatment ended and be put on a palliative care pathway. Last August, a ruling said that the teenager lacked mental capacity to make her own decisions, but 3 judges in the Court of Appeal overturned that decision last week. Lawyers said the move reaffirms the right